Welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Branding, featuring Miss Mandy, Rotimi, Patricia Kihoro, and Anshi. Moderated by Eli Mwenda. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Podcasting, featuring Oscar Kome, Ben Saiko, Wanjirunjiru, and Murugi Munyi. Moderated by Eli Mwenda. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Technical, featuring Kamanzi, Beryl, and moderated by Victor Maina. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Business and Monetization, featuring the Social Insider, Ryan, and Tracy. Moderated by Eli Mwenda. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop, presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters, in partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Branding, featuring Miss Mandy, Rotimi, Patricia Kihoro, and Anshi. Moderated by Eli Mwenda. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Podcasting, featuring Oscar Kome, Ben Saiko, Wanjirunjiru, and Murugi Munyi. Moderated by Eli Mwenda.
And meeting activities. So this is our assembly space, which can host up to, hopefully we'll probably have 80 to 100 people in this space today. And we also have K9, which is our more media-focused center, which has a fully equipped podcast room and also has a media room. So in our podcast professionals looking to use the space, we've had regular, various hosts, Janet Mbugwa, Caroline Mutoko, Eli, of course, Speak from Capital FM, Jess Ivy from Over 25, Kevin Brown from AfriPods, who runs the Create Your Life podcast, just to name a few. We've also had in our event space here, we've had Sauti Sol, Pinky Jelani, Annabelle Onyango. We've had quite a few people use the space, and it's been an honor to host quite a few of them. And we've also have a green room in K9 that has included BBC and global event services for production. We just signed, we have a deal with Nikon, and they're actually fitting out the green room for use of one of their series show that other clients will be able to use. So you don't have to be a member here to be able to use our event space or our podcasting or our media room. So we invite you to use those. A lot of that is spearheaded by our content team. So our content team is in the back. In fact, Georgia, who's head of our content team, is in the audience. She just flew in like 30 minutes ago, and I don't know how she got here. Would you like to say hello quickly? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. This kind of event has snowballed thanks to Eli and all his amazing participants. So thank you so much for coming. This is the first time we've done this. We hope to do this more. I'm a great believer in content. Content for me is king. We really enjoy having people in our spaces creating content. So please take as many videos, Instagram posts as possible. Do some stories, some reels. Tag at Kofisi Centres if like our spaces. And please, if any of you want to use our podcasting space, or you want to hold an event, or you want to do some filming in our spaces, then just reach out to content@kofisi.africa, because we love you all.
Thanks, Georgia. So we have a great support team here. Just if you're doing events, and just stand up and wave. Anyone doing events across your center, she's the one to talk to. She'll be around. So Anne's in the house, part of the hospitality team. Patience is standing in the back, who runs our member events. The content team's around, Sharon. So anyway, we have a great support team and a number of people, partners. We worked with Sanjeev, Breathe Media, Laban, and his PR team. So many of our partners are in the house. So we're just grateful to kick this off. Eli, I won't take much of the time because we have a great group of panelists. And for those who couldn't make it, we're on live stream, both on ManTalk and on Kofisi Africa's YouTube site. So we'll be able to capture quite a bit of the content. Just housekeeping-wise, we have your washrooms on the right side, and then your coffee and teas. Afterwards, we'll be going down to the atrium for a cocktail session. So we have a cash bar, and we'll be bringing food down there. So we're excited to get this kicked off, handing over to Eli and the team to get us started. Victor and Eli, thanks.
Thank you very much. Let's have a bigger clap for Kofisi one more time. Thank you to all of you for showing up. It's interesting how this workshop actually came about, us agreeing to put everyone on the panel together. We were, watching the sunset right at Kofisi. And in that moment, me and Eli were like, it's interesting how this content space and the creative space has grown. We would look at ourselves and be so grateful at how, like most creatives and most content creators who begin the journey, you do not have a blueprint for you to follow or to understand how this journey will go. You just discover things through mistakes, through trials, through your own experiences. And we said, hey, it would have been nice if we had some information going in. There's so much you can learn, but we don't have forums where we, literally just plug in. But it's beautiful that we noticed a scope of creatives who are in the space where they pass their knowledge. And we try to feature all of them in this workshop today. So yeah, as much as the journey has been a bit difficult, or, it's trying to discover new things in the journey, we have also learned tremendous things and things that we would love to pass on to the next batch of creators. So the people seated here, we believe, are active content creators, creatives who want to get into the space, and people who will probably get more value from these conversations on how to take their brands moving forward. And that's why we're all here. So let us be open-minded, ask as many questions as you'd like, interact with the content creators that are here. We have amazing people in the room. These people have built their own communities. They've walked their own journeys, impeccable ones at that. They have worked with some of the biggest brands we've come to know of. They themselves have created really big brands for themselves. And it's a pleasure. It's such an honor for them to grace us with their presence and share their knowledge with us. So With that, I think we can begin with the first panel. So I'll hand it over to Eli. Welcome, and I do hope you enjoy yourself.
Evening, guys. So I'll just echo what Victor has said. Thank you all for coming. Specifically, the content creators. I was talking to Victor and I said if they gave us their rate card to come here today, this would not happen. So thank you for taking the time. It's good to see that you want to also give back to the next upcoming creators. So thank you for being here. We'll crack on because we're short of time. I'll give you the rundown of the day. Basically, we're going to have 4 panels. The first panel will be on branding. We thought that was essential when it comes to content creation. Then we're going to do podcasting, because there's a lot of podcasting happening in Nairobi. There's going to be a business panel as well, and also a technical panel. So that's how it's going to run. In between, Ritimi, I'm going to ask you to do something, but I'll tell you later. In between each panel, there'll be something we do. And then at the end, we'll go downstairs, and we can all network afterwards. So I'll invite the first panel. This is the branding panel that is made up of Ritimi, Miss Mandy, Patricia Kahoro, and Anchi. Please come up. Round of applause. Check. Everyone got a mic? Ritimi, you got a mic? You stole the mic.
Check,
Okay,
check,
it's fine.
check.
Sharing is caring. We can share.
Too. It's working.
Welcome, guys. Sorry?
That's a nice
It's
pen.
your pen. Yep. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. So this panel is going to run for about 30 minutes of me asking you very, very easy questions about content, talking about your journey as well. And then the last 15 minutes is your opportunity to ask any questions based on what they've said or pre-written questions as well. So we wanted to start with branding because I think when you make the decision to go into the content creation space, you have to have a rough idea of the outcome's going to look like. So I want to first ask Patricia. I told you I'd do this. So at the very beginning, when Patricia said, I want to create content, did you have a clear idea of what the end brand would be from the jump? Or is it something that evolved over time as you were creating content on the platform?
Yeah, there was no decision to start creating content. There was no end goal. There was no clear strategy or plan. For me, I was just one of those people who there's a platform to be on, I shall be on it. MySpace, High Five, all of them, Facebook, like whatever comes up, I'm there. And for me, I think because back in the day,
What?
a long time ago.
Which year was this?
Well, I think High Five was probably like 2003, so 20 years ago.
Okay.
Damn. Yeah. And I was done with high school by then, you know, like I was an adult living outside of home by then. Oh, wow. And yeah, over the years, it's just been like on the platforms to connect with people, with family who are abroad, with people from school. And even when Instagram became a thing, 2011 is when I joined, when it first started. And it's literally just to post pictures. My first picture was a picture of a door handle. So there was no clear strategy.
Why?
Because it was in front of me. And so I pointed my phone at it. And over the years, it still rings true for me because it's still my personal page. I happen to make a living off it. Still figuring it out because I think people are on the platforms for different things. And I was never one of the ones who's like, this is my strategy and this is how I'm going. Yeah.
Amazing. And could you just let us know a bit about your brand at the moment for people in the audience that maybe don't know? Just Patricia's brand at the moment. How would you summarize yourself? Because I think it's really important to be able to articulate that, especially when it gets into the business side. So if someone said, Patricia, what is your brand? What would you respond?
I think over the years, one of the things I've realized is people know me for different things. So one of the phrases I use now is just multi-hyphenate or multi-potentialite because over the years, everything is open to me. If I decide to be a farmer tomorrow, I'll go into farming, right? So multi-hyphenate, creator, entertainer, storyteller, and, you know, girl who's just figuring things out as I go along. and who loves Kenya, who loves the arts in Kenya and in Africa. So I think that's another thing that rings true. But a lot of times, I usually ask, what do you know of me? What do you think of me? Because, again, it's been 25 years of... yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Patricia. Rotimi, buddy, I want to ask you a very pressing question, my friend. So we've seen you come into the fitness space and really define that. So I'd be curious to know, I've seen you use multiple platforms. You use Instagram, TikTok very effectively, but you also use platforms such as Telegram to sort of mobilize your community. So if somebody's starting out and they want to define their brand, is it a good idea to sort of, cast out and say, I'm going to put myself on all platforms, or am I going to be niche into a certain platform? Like, what informs that decision as to which platform you want your brand to be on? And then how do you portray your brand on each platform differently?
Thank you. The first thing is, I think it is very essential for you to create a brand identity on one platform first. I started with Instagram, if not because I wanted to deliver my fitness content in the way that I want to deliver it, I wouldn't be on Instagram. Like, I wouldn't really take it seriously. But starting off 2018, I decided there's a certain way I want to deliver my content. There are certain people that I want to deliver my content to. There is a way that I want to deliver fitness that has never been done before. Like, I want it to be more entertaining and still get my message from it, So I built that from Instagram. And when it came to Project 60, I wanted something more intimate, something that I could really be a voice. So Telegram helps me with that. I can just post things and all other people just get it from there. TikTok is more of the shenanigans, But still, I still stick to that fitness part of it. You'll see me doing all the transitions and all the lip syncs and things like that. But it depends on how you want to really put your brand out. For me, I don't want people to take me as a joke, I want you to get the message, but still look at it as an entertaining thing, something that you want to try, And that's how I've been able to get that space.
And how would you, same question I asked Patricia, so as Rotimi, if someone says, Rotimi, what is your brand? Again, to articulate that, how would you define yourself in a concise way?
I would say I'm a coach, right? I would always just put it as a fitness coach, but I think I'm more of a high-performance coach. I try to touch anyone that I work with in all areas of their lives. I feel fitness is really all about life and productivity and efficiency. Once you can grow in fitness, you can grow in all other areas of your life. So I always, even if I get my clients and they say they want to lose weight, they want to lose 5 kgs, in my head I'm like, you're not only losing 5 kgs on my program, you're getting your life in order from that. So I take them through habits, take them through everything, so that when they leave my program, they're more than just someone who has lost 5 kgs. They're a better human being. Yeah, from there.
I've had those tough convos with you about losing a couple of kgs, so you do it very well.
Thank you.
Anchi, I'd like you to I'd like you to just firstly introduce yourself and just let us know what you do in the creative space, because it's going to be very relevant to my follow-up question. So just an intro, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anchi. Most of you know me as Anchi Lifestyle, but my name is Anchi Ninja. I'm a talent manager at The Creative Catalyst, and and an influencer. I'm an influencer by mistake. It makes sense in a bit. Yeah.
Amazing. Being in the space and sort of managing talents, I'm guessing when they sort of come to you with what they've done prior, look at them, analyze them, and say, how are we going to take your brand forward? So when somebody does come to you, what are the things you look for as potential to double down on to define their brand when they go into a digital space?
Okay. This might sound a bit cliche, but I'm a strong believer in energy. So usually when I meet someone the first time, you can always tell, okay, it's not very obvious, but I'm a good reader of energy. Sorry, I'm not good with public speaking. but I'll relax. I'll relax. Yeah.
We're all friends here, Angie.
Thank
It's okay.
you. Yeah. So first thing is look at where they are exactly right now, and then listen to their goals. More often than not, they're not usually very well defined. So I assist in defining those goals and, just making it a bit more realistic by asking several questions. I'm not going to say those here now because I feel like those are my secrets in trade. So basically just spend at least, not less, around 48 hours, not continuously with this talent, and then try and figure out exactly what they like, where they see themselves in the next, week, month, year, 5 years, 10 years, and then I'll work backwards from there.
And what are the most common mistakes? Because say that, I think I've got lots of potential as a creative, and I put everything on the table for you, right? What are the mistakes people make in terms of doubling down on certain things that aren't going to benefit them as a brand? What's the mistakes you see people make
Eli,
off the
you
jump?
have to talk slowly.
Oh, sorry, really? Is it just everyone?
We were
Really?
talking with Tracy, and she was like, "Will you understand anything?"
Really? I was...
Okay,
Angie?
I love your accent. though.
Okay, I'm sorry. My mistake. And for everyone else, I will go much slower. What are the most common mistakes that you find people make when they've tried to define their brand prior to coming to you?
I don't think you can really make a mistake per se. I wouldn't call it a mistake. I feel like the value I would add is aligning it rather than saying that it's a mistake, because if you didn't meet me, you would still probably prosper, but in your own light. But I could easily just align it with, okay, how do we make money from this? How do we keep it, longevity? How do we add value to the brand? Those are the things that would help align each other than say, what you're doing is a mistake. But no, I give you that freedom to say, okay, I feel like I want to become a musician and I can really sing. So, okay, what can we do then to get you to become that brilliant musician you're talking about? Yeah. Then now that's where I come in. Yeah.
So it's doubling down on what they're already doing and just
Yes,
enhancing. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Hi, Mandy. Hi. Is your mic on? Okay. So we've seen you carve out your own niche in the food space, but the internet is very fast. But you've been able to maintain relevance throughout all of it. So how do you adapt a niche as the internet is moving fast? How do you keep yourself relevant when it comes to that category? Because you have to innovate on the very similar product multiple times. So how have you done that over the last few years?
Wow, I'm gonna use the most recent, I would say in the past year what I did. So as I was going into 2022, I quickly realized what COVID had done was, in my category, really exploded a lot of people into the food space. And funny enough, I think more creators should really use their audience to really define the direction they should go with their content. So I put up a question where I asked my audience, I had actually gotten gifted an Instant Pot, and I cooked something with it, and people started DMing me like, oh my God, this is what you can do? So I was like, oh wait, you guys are kind of curious about this. So I put up a question, and I said, what item between an air fryer and an Instant Pot do you see yourself getting this year? I got 300 comments. I will never forget, 309 comments. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, okay, this is good data. I separated who had chosen Instant Pot, who had chosen air fryer, and I quickly realized like this was the next big frontier space that was not being dominated. I spent hours online scrubbing the internet, seeing who has done like Kenyan fish recipe, and that's how I quickly was able to just shift and realize this is the next pivot. This is where I need to go. Appliances are becoming very huge, and people are talking about healthy food, so that's how I was able to move on to the next thing. That's how it's always been, actually, for all the years I've been creating content. The minute my audience starts questioning me about certain things in the kitchen, I'm like, this is where we need to move to, because I can take it to the whole other level and they will be hooked. So it allowed for me to become this air fryer queen, you would say, because people started seeing, oh my God, I could make mandazis with this. I could do so much more, something that a lot of creators were not showing. So if you're a creator in a certain space, you really need to start paying at forecasting what's happening next and be in tune with your audience to be able to keep up the momentum in that space. That's how I would say. I keep carving out my niche, yeah.
Okay, so my next one is for anyone on the panel. So ultimately, when you start, like I mentioned with Patricia, you're defining your brand in the hopes that on the other side, there's another brand that is adjacent to you. And ultimately, you're going to make money from that. So when you're making your brand, how do you distinguish which brands you want to work with now on a partnership level once you've defined your brand? Are there any things you consider when looking at a brand to partner with? Any of you?
Usually for me, the first thing that I consider is this a brand that I would spend money on if I wasn't working with them? Is it a brand that I have used in the past? Is it something if it's new, is it something that I can see myself using, or something that I can speak about? And because I just think, is this something that I would genuinely use if I wasn't working with them? And also, not just genuinely use, but is it something I can put money into? Like, can I buy? I could work with them on a campaign, but then I'm buying for my mom or my dad or something like that. So is it just something that I can spend money on? And also just in talking to them as well, it's just finding out do they have any set ideas, or are they coming in with curiosity? And are we able to be curious about each other so that we can figure out a partnership that works for the both of us? Because one of the things I like to tell brands that I work with is that, influencers are different, people work differently, people's goals are different, people's creative process is different. So, when you access somebody, treat them as a unique human being, and don't assume that if I go to Murugi, if I go to Mandy, if I go to Rutimi, it's the same thing and I can just ask for the same things and
Just to add on to that, I think that's on the creator surface level. I'd like to take it a notch higher for other creators. I think it's important for you to, based on the rapport you have with other creators, do your homework about them. Like, do they pay on time? It's a very important thing, because as a creator, you need to know your cash flow, right? So the surface level is, yes, do our values align? But you need to find out how they treat their previous creators, because then you would know, wow, I would sign this, but they say 90 days, but they pay in 120 days. Where does that leave you? So there's the surface, then there's a notch higher that you need to definitely dig deeper on.
Have any of you had a scenario where you've partnered with a brand, you've been excited from the jump, and then realized that what was in the brief, what the response was online, did not align with what you wanted the end result to be? And if that's happened, how have you dealt with that, going with a brand partnership that's not worked effectively?
Ooh, so you're trying to say, you created content for the brand and it didn't really hit?
Yeah. So what's the lesson you learned from that, and then how do you pivot?
Oh, so if you really enjoy working with a brand and you see yourself adding more value to them, I always say give them another value add. Show them that you can actually deliver on the work. And most clients sometimes have their own rules, right? So you can follow their rules and be like, this will not work for the audience. However, if I do this, this will work for the audience and it will convert for you, right? And also going into it knowing, are they looking for awareness, or are they looking for sales? Because that's the key definition thing that you need to know. Is it awareness? Because that's what you do. You're just advertising.
And which is most common, awareness or sales, typically?
Awareness, for sure. But most brands think it's sales.
Yeah, others also, again, we were having a conversation about a brand, not, maybe they just don't know about the influencer space, so they don't know about budgets or whatnot. But it's also really important to be able to have a conversation with a brand, or whoever is the custodian of whatever brand, and ask them, what are your expectations? What do you think that a campaign looks like when it's successful? Some of them are coming to you and they're like, if we pay you this, will you be able to make us this? So they're coming at you like they want sales. But you have to at least, if you know your stuff, sometimes you need to educate them and let them know, I bring awareness, I can bring sales. Legitimacy is another thing, because someone may make somebody aware of a brand, someone else may have a code and people will use it, but then you see that person has posted and that one has posted, but then they'll go check if so-and-so has posted. If she has, then I trust it. So there are people who legitimize a brand as well. Yeah, so there's so many, and for you as an influencer or content creator, you also have to understand what it is you bring to the table in terms of, I'll give you awareness, I'll bring you sales, I'll legitimize your brand, I will get you an older demographic to come and just spend, so once you understand that as well, you can let them know.
And go ahead, yeah.
I just wanted to add something. the two brands you see here are also very established. One thing that has happened when I've started managing talent is that it's also it's also taken me back kind of like to the beginning of my influencing, where you do have to do some free gigs. Yeah. It's not related. Okay. So you really do, in the beginning, you really do have to do something that they are calling, I don't know where Chase is, but they do seeding. And that's where, you know, you're showcasing to these different brands that you can actually create content for them, not for money, right? So it's you building your portfolio. When you get to where people like Miss Mandy are, and that the advice they're giving is fantastic. But if you're a beginner, please don't enter any office and start saying, so the value I'm gonna, nah. They don't even know who you are, yeah. So just keep that in mind, please.
Okay, amazing. So funny story. I remember when I sort of first started making content, I had a very cute, small community. And I remember just before COVID, no, sorry, just at the beginning of COVID, I posted outside my window and I was saying, it's 5 p.m., there's no traffic. Within 2 minutes, somebody replied saying, I know where you live, right? So that was a big check for me, and I said, okay, as much as I want to be open with my personal brand, I need to start making boundaries. And Rotimi, I know you on a personal level, but if I look at you online, I know nothing. It's like we're just doing crunches, burpees, and that's all you're going to get. So how have you been able to maintain privacy, still give value, and keep people engaged as you've built your brand?
Like I said, if it wasn't for what I wanted to create, the message I wanted to put out, I wouldn't be on social media. I wouldn't take it seriously. So starting off, I had to figure out what my brand identity is. So that shaped like my purpose on social media, and it gave me a direction, right? Whatever I want to post, I have to always relate it to my brand identity. I have to always relate it to the goal. Like, does this match where I want to go? Does this match the direction? I know where I want to be in 5 years. I know where I want to be in 10 years, you know? So every piece of content, trust me, is tailored towards that thing. Any other thing that is not related to that, even the fun stuff is still tailored to that thing, but like, you know. And sometimes like people always say, you know, you have to make people relate with you, and you have to be vulnerable, you have to make people think. I still try to do that, but again, it has to be tied to the goal. You know, it's not so off that you get to have informations that are not so crucial to the goal, you know. So having a brand identity, I think it has helped me so much to shape how my content looks like and what I want to deliver to the public, rather than just sharing for fans.
I just want to add on to what Rotimi said. I really admire how we can curate our lives online, but I also admire oversharers. That's where the real big bucks are. Murugi's here, she could tell you. She could tell you, you know. But I feel like this question should be more directed to Murugi, because she's really been able to define that line. A lot of us have been like, we're just closing it off. Like for me, if you ask me something personal, I'll be like, it's not on the internet. Why are you asking? You know what I mean? I've been robbed twice, actually. So I am very afraid of house tours, in-depth things about my life. So those are the things that I would say really freak me out about the internet, but I admire oversharers because it brings in really big bucks, actually.
And to add on to that, I echo everything that she says. I've been robbed 3 times, you know? And the first time, I'd lived somewhere for 10 years, but I only came to find later somebody in my YouTube had said, oh, you're my neighbor at da-da-da-da-da-da. And then that happened. Then the next place I was burgled, because I moved, I only used to post in front of my wall. You remember that gallery wall? That's like, and then pandemic happens, oh, I'm cooking, I'm doing this, you see my kitchen, da-da-da. Somebody just DMs, oh, is that those apartments, da-da-da-da. Then got robbed, burgled. Moved last year, and then a year after I moved, first of all, in the last year and a half, you don't know, you just know my monkeys and the trees. And if anybody asks me, where is that? I'm like, Wangige. Where is that? Muimuto. Where is that? Like, I just throw some random names because I'm not trying to have, so the house tours, it's like so, but it still happened. So it's and then coming to recognize that you can be a target. People can come and see, oh, this is that chick. Oh, okay, see how I'm my camera, my laptop, no. Then you do the thing. But then another thing about the oversharing, right? Where I've said this before, I've never nothing about my life has been a secret. But then at the same time, there's things that have been private, but you can go to my page and find whatever info you want. Oh, who was she seeing? It's all there. It's just, that's not a part of what I share. But it's not also curated. It's just after TPF or after this. There's just some things that I'm like, I'm not gonna say this, but I will post a picture. There's nothing I hide. If you are interested, you will find me at Blankets and Wine with some dude just kissing. If you want to post, you'll post. But nobody. I feel like I also just don't. Move with that energy of oh my God, are they watching? You'll see me, and maybe also what you put out there is what you get back, because I've never felt people trying to do this. So I think also the energy you put out kind of just comes back to you.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm going to open it up in the audience. If there's any questions regarding branding or anything else as well, to the panelists. So do we have a mic that we can give to them? Who's the mics?
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Andrew Balongo Pere, creative and content creator and podcaster. I'm just wondering, for some certain niches, do women perform better than men? Because it seems in some instances, women may be giving advice, but a male cannot apply it. And this is just wondering aloud, because I've noticed there are more female content creators than male. So is it also a niche thing? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
I don't know, maybe if it was makeup related or anything like that. If there's anything I've learned from my YouTube classes, all creators are equal, right? There's also blueprints that creators need to follow. Just the same way with business, there are certain steps you have to take in business. You can't skip them, right? So I would say just like with any business, content creation has blueprints that you kind of need to follow, depending on whatever industry that you're in. I mean, they're specific. And you've mentioned are female content creators good at giving advice over men. First of all, I would like to point out that male content creators blow up more than women. I'll give you a perfect example. Ombachi, right? All he needed to say was done, and he blew up, right? So maybe the question you should be asking is, are there more male content creators giving you the advice that you need, right?
And I think even that's the reason why we're here, that for every influencer, even apart from influencer, any business, any person who has blown up, you have certain support behind you. So that's why I've appreciated you've mentioned that example of Ombachi. He's not a regular example. He's an anomaly. No, but he has a digital marketer as a wife who runs her own agency. But not saying that she's the only reason, but I'm just saying that's
When I started, funny enough, all I had was Anchi. We were chilling on her balcony. I told her about the idea. She said, why don't you just start a YouTube channel? And she wasn't where she was at then, but I was around people who encouraged my idea, right? And also, you have to understand something. The momentum of the internet is the momentum of the internet. If people like you, they like you. It doesn't matter if you had the digital marketing creator, If they like you, they like you. If they want to become the throwdown queen, they're going to want to become like you. The internet is just like that. There's no formula of having a person behind you.
Maybe I can say this, Andrew. Whatever it is that you want to believe, if you want to believe that, okay, so women do better because of this, then that'll be true for you. When somebody is saying, no, actually it's different in this way, this is the internet. You also get to decide who you want to show up as on the internet. Because yes, there's a blueprint to follow, but then there's also people who blow up because they just did their own thing. you know? So you can spend your time trying to figure out what this person did or who has this and whose wife, maybe you find a wife who's a digital marketer, you know, like you could do all that, or you could just focus on, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to put out, these are the values I need, consistency, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. You do that and focus on your own lane. Of course, there's so much to learn from others, but at the end of the day, what is your North Star? What is it that you want, right? Because if you hinge your success on, well, it's not like this because it's like this, do you just want to be another content creator, or do you want to be Andrew, Balongo, or Pere, you know? Because I didn't follow a blueprint. If I did, I think I would be a lot further because I had things that worked for me in the first place. Like, people didn't start following me because of my content. You know, there's the acting, there's Project Fame, there's radio, there's TV, all these other things. And then I start creating content and that becomes another thing. But there was no blueprint, right? And even now, I'm still figuring things out because the blueprint is great, but it doesn't quite work for me. But then I understand that just means I'm not going to be this kind of creator because it's not the only thing that I do. But what do I want to do? I just want to be the best version of myself, right? So I think there's things to glean from others, but what is your true north? And focus on that.
I actually have a question for anyone. How do you guys have talked about how you carry yourself, you've talked about not oversharing, you've talked about focusing on the goal, but are there specific things that you do in terms of branding, or even like you advise your talent in terms of branding that make you a great partner for brands, for other brands? Are there like things you're ideally supposed to do? Is there like a manual, or you just roll with it, be yourself, do you, or should you particularly also do things that you know, skew you towards partnering with brands? Yeah.
I think we talked about that when you stepped out. And yeah, but honestly, I actually even mentioned you, and I was saying that like the seeding process of how if there's a brand you're trying to work with, then maybe put out content in that direction. I feel like that's maybe one of the main things. But then with regards to brand, I feel like now on the internet, 5 years ago the difference between 5 years ago and now is huge. In life, it's a bit different, but on the internet, there's a very big difference between where we are now and where we were 5 years ago. I feel like right now, there's a blueprint. I feel like right now, you can become an influencer today and beat all these guys in no time. Because if you follow the blueprint, guys, I'm telling you, like, it's actually a sure shot. If you're consistent, if you carry yourself properly, etc., you know, just the main things around branding. Find your brand, what's your purpose. Also, there's one other small thing I wanted to add. When you're branding yourself, it's always easier to do things that are in line with your character. If Miss Mandy, when I say Miss Mandy, the first thing that comes to your mind is food. 5, 6 years ago, maybe, it would have been a bit different because she was on radio. But the way she has branded herself now, as soon as someone hears Miss Mandy anywhere, they know food is related. Rotimi, same shit. Same thing. Sorry, Mom. My mom is watching. With Rotimi, it's the same thing. If you hear anybody just say Rotimi, even I know so many other Rotimis. I just hear Rotimi, I get tired. I'm like, okay, we are working out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Patricia has told you she's what was that word?
Hyphenate, potentialite.
Yeah, she's that one. And she's allowed to do that because she's done this for a really, really long time. As she's told you, she's defined by so many different things, but then for me, if I was to define Patricia, it would be generally lifestyle. So when you see Patricia, there's a certain direction you go. When you see Eli, same thing. Kimanzi, you know, we are still figuring you out, and I'm kidding. But yeah, you know you're gonna laugh, yeah, or be very, transitions, actually that's the word there. So I feel like if you align the brand you're trying to create and put out with your character, you'll move a lot faster. A lot faster. Yeah.
I can tell you what not to do very quickly. If you're not okay, just don't say yes. If you're not okay, if you're not able to meet like a brand's deliverables, deadlines, to communicate, if you're not okay physically, mentally, don't do it. Take a break, take care of yourself. When you're better, then say yes. Because that can also like really affect you know, your output, your reputation, like the experience of it, and especially because today it's such a business, you know? It's no longer like happy-go-lucky, yeah, you know, like, yeah, so if you're not okay, I would just say, if you're not okay, don't say yes. You can always ask, hey, I'm not okay, can we do this a month later? Communicate. Yeah, that way you maintain things.
That was a beautiful parting shot, so I don't have to ask you. I was going to ask everybody to give me... Oh, there is in the audience? Okay, one more. Is it on? Check, check. There's a button just on the...
Hi. Hi, sorry, I can't stand. I'm holding a plate of food. My question is, my name is Isabel. I'm a seasonal content creator on and off. And part of being on and off is because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. No, I love creating content in a style of teaching, in a way. Like I like to teach things that I've come across, that I've learned. But now I'm at a place where I have found my passion, I've found my voice, and I don't know how to rebrand because they're totally different worlds. And my question is, do I continue with the same like pages on Instagram, on YouTube? Do I continue with my same YouTube channel and just rebrand, or I have to start all over again? Which one would you recommend?
So first of all, you need to honor the transition of your life that you're going through. To top it off, you are actually pregnant, so there's going to be much more of a transition in your life, right? The most important thing is to take your audience through that journey with you, right? So honor it, then do announce to your audience and say, guys, I'm going through a life shift, and there's going to be a couple of things that are changing. Let me know what you enjoy most about the content. Again, let them guide you, right, in your transition, as opposed to saying, I don't know what I'm doing. But once they guide you, it'll be like, I enjoy this feedback, I'm gonna take it back to the drawing board, and then now you map out the direction, right? As opposed to just being in a transitional space and not doing anything about it. And as, you know, when you're going through your maternity leave, again, just schedule this content to ask them more, like what do they want to see more, what do they enjoy, all of that. Scrub through all of your platforms and see what really, really works, and definitely announce to your audience you're taking a break. It is very important because they don't want to come to your page and be like, Sa Alienda, where are they? You know? It's very important, yeah.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Also, there's no, like what she said, you can always just say, hey, I'm going through this. Audiences really appreciate honesty, and that's one thing that I learned, because your audience is not always there just to take. They're also very giving. So sometimes I've come on and I've just, I'm going through this thing and I'm trying to figure it out, and people show up for you as well, and that builds this intimacy and community, which at the end of the day, you don't want to tell people it's just followers that I have. You've built a community, and it's so valuable, and people are tapped into you, and so you can always, like, don't think, oh, if I do this, I'll mess up. If I do this, I'll mess up. Take them on the journey with you. Allow them to also show up for you. Ask them, I'm really confused about this. What do you guys like? Do you think this? They can show up for you and give you guidance, and that creates a stronger connection. Yeah.
I think we have one more question, then we'll do a hard stop because there's other panels. I think, yeah, over there.
Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis Roma. I'm a software engineer. I work at Oseko Games. My question is, first of all, I wanted to ask a question about, in terms of how you people, like the content creators, in terms of when you want to, maybe if I approach you with an upcoming software, and I want you guys to monetize or advertise it in your platform. What mode of payment do you consider, like maybe equity or there's a specific price in terms of how you rate the software? And also my other question is, like, let's say you build, I have come up with a platform, and this platform I'm looking forward, like, for content creators to come and create their content. What is the drive-through, like something that will drive you to come on the platform and start creating content? Like, what do you consider that is going to be the key thing that will bring you in the platform? Yeah.
I'm just going to say, how many more platforms are you guys going to create for us to creators to join? I'm tired. Every other day there's an email, hey, join us, and you're giving me 1%, and I should be excited. So first things first, I feel like you need to really work on your success story as a brand. I feel like a lot of you guys try to rope us in, and I don't even understand what the brand does. Like, you don't even have your own ROI, but you want me to be a guinea pig to this thing. So I personally, I'm gonna speak for myself, I'm currently not signing up to a lot of these. There are too many. Like, I can't even keep up. And then they're sending me threatening text messages, 30 minutes, respond now, you won't take the job. And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? So I'm really afraid of how many apps are coming up. They're not solving our problem. You're not solving our problem. I feel like the apps that should be created right now should be helping the creator bridge that problem. I need a virtual assistant. Why is there nobody building me an app for a virtual assistant? Why are you building me another app to join, to beg people for money? Why? You know, provide me with the solutions, and I promise you it will be much better for me. I'm speaking again for myself, but I'm pretty sure if we did a survey here, creators, are we tired of apps?
Yeah.
Thank you. So trust me, it's not helping. And what was your other earlier question in regards to, rates? So rates, it's different. Everybody has a different rate card because everybody knows how much they need to cost for their content. So there's no standardized fee or number. Everybody here charges very differently.
At the end of the day, content creators are human beings just like you. So honestly, you're just having a conversation with another human being. So if you want to find out, will you join this app? Or what you're supposed to be doing is providing a solution. Me, I love apps. I'm always downloading new apps, but it's because I see, this is gonna do this and solve this for me, right? So what problem are you solving? And a lot of successful people, whether they started a company, an app, software, business, it's because they were solving a problem. And those are the ones that are so successful. So start with asking, what problem needs solving? And that will be the value that you'll provide, and that is what will get people to buy into whatever it is that you're giving.
Guys, I really can't thank you enough. I've learned just sitting here. But we have multiple panels, and it's 1:30. So I just want to give a round of applause to all of you, guys, for the knowledge, for the vibe. Thank you so much. Ritimi, I want us to do a 60-second to 2-minute exercise, just so that we can, before the next panel, Victor, you're very good at, getting us to just stretch off a little bit so that we're comfortable and we can learn. So if you could lead us, Ritimi, in a 2-minute stretch, just 2-minute stretch, and then we'll go to the next panel, yeah? Let's go. Okay, let's go.
To the left. 2 more times. To the right. To the left.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. You can take your seats. Thank you.
The Creatives Workshop. Presented by mantalk.ke
Okay.
and Visual Masters. In partnership with Kofisi Africa.
So now that we've stretched, I want to invite the next panel. This is going to be the podcasting panel. So if we could have Marugi, Ben Psycho, Wanjiro, and the boy, Oscar Kome, please. Round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Podcasting, featuring Oscar Kome, Ben Psycho,
Hey guys. Wait for Oscar.
Wanjiru
Welcome,
Njiru,
welcome. Thank you guys for your time. I know you're expensive. So
and
thanks for
Murugi
coming.
Munyi.
So I think for anyone that doesn't know who's on the panel, we can just
Moderated
start with brief
by
intros,
Eli
starting from Ben at
Mwenda.
the end and coming this way.
Oh, hi guys. How you guys doing? Up, down. My name is Ben Psycho. I'm a podcaster, I'm an artist, and I'm a content creator, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you guys for coming.
Hi, good evening. Are you well? I'm very excited to be here. My name is Oscar. I'm a podcaster today. Learning a lot from these creatives. I'm learning a lot from all of you, and thank you so much for coming. If you're tuning in from home, thank you so much for doing that. We love you. And welcome to the Creatives Workshop.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Wanjiru. For the purposes of this panel, I am a host of the Joyride podcast and also the Nook by the Joyride podcast.
Hi, guys. My name is Murugi Munyi. I am one half of TMI Podcast KE. The other half is Lydia, who would have been here, but she's traveled to the UK recently, so I'm here representing the team.
Thank you guys so much. Round of applause, please, for the guys. Okay. So if anyone has the internet or YouTube, Instagram, we know that everybody, their mother and the dog is starting a podcast, right? But we've realized there's a big influx. Everyone wants to start, but not many people carry on. And I think that, in my opinion, is probably the number one problem when it comes to podcasting. So in your experience, any of you, I'd like to know, how do you remain consistent as a podcast? Because we know on the back end it determines the success of your podcast. So how have you remained consistent? What have you put in place to have episodes every single week for an extensive period of time? Marugi.
Consistency queen, come on.
So our podcast has been running for just over 2 years. It was 2 years in July, so it's been like 2 years and a few months. And in that time, there's only 1 week that we haven't released an episode. And that was in 2021, I think, in December, because I got COVID. And I was on quarantine, and so we couldn't shoot an episode. For us, Lydia and I, consistency is like the key thing above everything. And for us, how we stay consistent is just deciding to be consistent. Because I feel like it's a decision more than anything else. I feel like a lot of times with creatives, I know we can fall into the trap of like creative block, or I'm just feeling tired, or I just don't feel like showing up at this particular time. But it can be, whilst I do understand it and I validate it for the creatives who go through that, I also feel that it's important to put a start time and a stop time to your creative block. Because if you have been on creative block for 3 years, you're now no longer a content creator. You can't be more on creative block than you are on actually creating. So I feel like it just starts with making a decision to be consistent and doing what it takes to be consistent, and being able to push past those feelings of I don't feel like, I don't want to, kind of like with fitness, I guess, because sometimes even when you're going through that creative block, the content you produce then could still be amazing to your audience who is watching it, who to them, you showing up is more important than you having the best ever video on YouTube.
I think I can attest to that. At the beginning of the journey of TMI, I remember there was 1 week, there was a problem with production, and you guys went to one of your locations and you just put a phone camera there, and you just shot an episode. So I
And
think
it wasn't even back camera, it was front camera.
my
Yeah,
goodness me.
and we were petrified that our audience would be like, wait, you've come from having this amazing, like quality to a phone, but not a single person mentioned it. Because for them, it's just like, oh, we are so excited to be watching you, like producing content. We're so excited to just listen to the conversation. And that just showed us that the content quality is just so far more important to your audience than the production quality is. So consistency over everything.
Joyriders, could you let us know how you've remained consistent? How long has it been now, guys?
A year and change.
Amazing.
I think for us, it was very important for us to find a structure that allows us to stay consistent. And for us is to do it season-wise. So we know that every season we're going to do 10 episodes. We're going to do a live show. There are going to be other components like campus tours, and those have allowed us to be consistent over the time. So we know the Joyride structure will be in seasons. Every season will have this number of episodes. Now that we've added new shows, we know these new shows will need this number of episodes. So it's kind of that structure that has allowed us to be consistent, right?
Yeah. Just to echo what my colleague has said, it's, I think also by the time you're starting a podcast, you need to have a very clear vision of what you want to achieve. And in as much as views, subscribers are very important and commercialization is very important, I think it really needs to go down to the DNA of why you're really starting this podcast. If you want to talk to the girls, if you want to talk to the boys, if you want to talk about relationships, if you want to talk about money, that should always be the core, such that even when you feel like you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you still go back and remind yourself why you're doing it. Now, the thing about it is that consistency always attracts people, and it attracts success. In the art space, I think consistency is the number one key to success, even on top of talent or on top of any other thing. So you might be very good at what you do, but as Murugi has said, you can't take a creative block for 3 years. You're spending more time on creative blocks than you are creating the content. And that's a struggle that I used to have. So before the Joyride podcast, I used to have another podcast called the Psycho Podcast. The sound was terrible. I don't think you understand. I lowered the bar to a point. Nobody has beaten me up to today, Guinness World Record. But guys would always show up and listen to those episodes over and over again. So one of the things that I picked out is that you have to do it whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Plus also this is work. You just don't wake up and say, today I don't feel like I want to go to the office because, I don't know if I'm bored. But maybe nowadays workplaces are very nice and woke. I don't know if that's happening. But with your creative work, you can't just operate it the way you want. You have to be serious about it. Yeah, Oscar.
My colleague, Oscar.
With mantalk.ke, it's been a little bit interesting when it comes to consistency. Our approach has been, there's no way for us to have an impact and to attract the people that we want to attract, because that's also really important. Who are you attracting and why? Without consistency. If you are consistently putting out content, sending out a specific message, and also branding the idea that you have, that tends to attract a particular demographic who have particular tastes, and those ideals also flow through the podcast. And it shows up in the comments, it shows up in your social media pages, and it starts to show up in your conversations on set as well. That's been our experience. Another factor that's been really important for us in terms of consistency is our team. I can't emphasize the importance of Beryl, who is in the audience. I can't emphasize that importance. We had to shoot cross-continentally because I'd left for a study stint. We had to cross-continentally. And the key factor, I will not lie, the key factor is that girl right there. It's Beryl.
Round of applause for Beryl, please.
Yeah. So shout out to Beryl, shout out to Eli, and the rest of the team in executing at that level. Because of course, when it comes to consistency, it's not about just, the drafting of the episodes, what are you going to talk about, what does the audience just want. It's also about who can execute at that level and that consistently. So that's been the lesson for me. It's not just about the hosts and the operation and the idea. It's also about the team. And I can attest to the people on set. They have fantastic teams. and it's been such an inspiration watching the work that you've been doing.
Please. Sorry, let me just add one thing. I like something that I think Wanjiro mentioned it about how they knew that for them to be consistent, they had to have a certain structure, which is around seasons and a certain number of episodes. And I just want to mention that consistency is not necessarily every single day you have to have a post, or every single week you have to have, an episode up. I think it's about committing to something and allowing your audience to be able to predict that. I know they have said, even if it's once a month, at least they know that once a month, on the last Sunday of every month, she'll have a video up. And I think it's just about sticking to the schedule that you have committed to your audience. Not every 3 months, I'm back.
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question.
How many bucks
Yeah.
can we?
How many? I have a question. How do podcasters stay motivated? How do you stay motivated consistently for 4 years? How do you keep on that creative idea and that creative direction? What's your thing?
I think for us, for me specifically, the breaks have really helped, because now we're coming off a 2-month break where we did nothing Joyride related. I did not shoot any episode. I really just got time, because if you're not familiar with our podcast, we share musings on relationships and life. I got to enjoy Ben as my husband, not as my colleague. So it's those breaks. It's those breaks I feel like even now as I come back to season 4, there's a freshness to it that I did not have at the end of season 3. Yeah.
I think personally, I'll answer the question as well. I don't think you remain motivated. I think you remain disciplined. And I think it's the same thing that Rotimi would say when it comes to fitness. Like, Ben, you mentioned you have to have like an objective all the seasons. Like, there's going to be days where you sit in studio, you don't want to talk, but you've made that commitment. So I think it would be remiss of us to say that every single day you're going to want to be a podcaster, but you're going to have to be a podcaster if you want the long-term goals of it. That's how I maintained with my boy. Yeah.
With the boy.
With the boy. So I think when it comes to podcasting, I want to talk about money in and money out. Off the jump, there's a financial aspect that I'm familiar with. And then there's also the aspect on the other end where you're making money from it. So I would like to know your journey in terms of monetizing and funding your podcasts. What's that been? You can be as transparent or not as possible, but what's that journey been with you when it comes to money and podcasting? Ben Psycho.
Do you have KRA guys here? Because Joyride, we don't have money. Like, I do not at lunch. But for Joyride, we have different revenue streams. One of them being partnerships with brands. Brands are always attracted to people who have a crowd, people who have an audience. And brands are always attracted to a brand that can command a crowd to do something, you know? So it could be maybe you have 5,000 subscribers, but when you call out for something, 3,500 would show up, you know? That's way more powerful than having 1 million subscribers, but when you call out for something, only 100 people would come. So that power of conversion has been attracting a lot of brands our way. We also do events, which was a scary bit when we were starting. So how we also looked at podcasting was, because I'm also a musician, so we're like, what if we can also do like a podcast concert, you know, where people pay and they come listen to us. And people showed up. Our first gig had like 800 people, man. That was scary. We were backstage just with people trying to gas us up. We were almost canceling it, you know, because of nerves, you know. So we sell tickets as a result of that. And then after that, the show is also uploaded on a pay-per-view platform. So those are some of the areas that we make money from. Yeah.
Sorry, just before we go into the next one. So that's the back end once you're making money. How about when you're starting the product? How did that look financially?
Like when you're
funding the podcast before monetizing it. How was that?
I'll let my CFO talk about it.
It was one of the hardest things we ever had to do, because I think we were coming off of just getting married. We decided to put our savings and said, let's put it into this. So our savings went into paying production. At that time, we weren't hiring out space, so a lot of it just went into production. And also, that first season, I don't think we got any brand partnerships, so we had to cover the live experience as well, because we did a live experience. I mean, the event was able to pay for itself, but we weren't sure it would pay for itself until the last day. So we had some money, we had to put some money into that as well. It still needs a lot of money, but thankfully, thank God, that Joyride has been able to to fuel itself. Like the wheels are able to keep turning. And I think it's been very, very important. I don't know if this is TMI, but but the structure of the Joyride is we don't pay ourselves until the end of the season. So whatever money we are able to collect, it goes into the business. We keep the wheels running for that season, so we are able to do the campus tours, we are able to do the live experience, and then at the end of the season, Ben and I and Barack will be able now to pay for ourselves. So that's how we've been able to keep the wheels turning. Hopefully we can get into salaries at some point. Yeah. God willing. Yeah.
Okay, so for us, it's pretty much similar to what you guys have said. It's mostly, I wouldn't even say the events necessarily have been what rake in money. That one is more of like community building kind of thing, but at least they have paid for themselves and a little bit extra. We've made most of our money from brand partnerships. In the beginning, when we first started, it was really difficult because it literally required Lydia and I to dig into our own pockets to fund it. Kwanzaa paying for production. Oh.
Barrel.
Yeah, podcasts are really expensive to put up, especially if you have video podcast. Yeah. Because if it's just like just audio, I feel like you can even do it on your phone and you upload and it's still amazing. But with the video, and that's not even counting now, let's say you're doing makeup, you're doing, your outfits and things like that, a team, exactly, social media, the PA, love you, Nancy, and all that, yeah, it's really expensive. So there was a point at which but I don't know, Lydia and I just knew we were gonna blow up. Like, we didn't have any doubt in our minds. We were like, this is just for like right now, yeah. We're like, is this just for right now? We know it's gonna pay us back, yeah. So, I mean, there was a point where we literally had to dig into our own pockets. I was there telling my husband, like, babe, this is an investment, babe. It's an investment. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And at some point, I think we're even, like, lawyer things, like you're registering IPs and your, production. It was just a lot. But I think at the end of our first, like, maybe 6 months, I think is when we got our first brand partnership. And we're like, we could at least breathe. And since then, we've consistently had brand partners who we have been really grateful to be able to work with. We've, of course, had the Spotify Fund, which was a huge help in being able to cover production costs and even our social media management costs. So that's been really nice. YouTube payment helps a lot for views because our videos get a lot of views. But if you're on YouTube, it's not like you're not swimming in money. I mean, it's something like which maybe electricity you can pay, but it's not like it's not everything. So the brand partnerships have been essential for us. Essential, yeah.
Also, come on. Do you want to tell them?
Do you want me to disclose our first contract?
Go ahead.
Which I framed. In the beginning, our first contract ever was 10,000 shillings for 8 episodes. Our first contract ever was 10,000 shillings for 8 episodes. This is pre-Beryl. Beryl saved us. But that was our first contract ever. And the reason why it read that way is because at the time when we were making podcasts, Ben and Wanjiru were our first ever guests. And they were there when we were moving chairs, but there was no industry. There was no one who was like, we listen to podcasts. That did not exist at the time. And so Eli and I had to, as a young, I just finished Kenya School of Law. As a young lawyer, I had to pump in. Eli, those days, he was moving as an influencer, but it was just beginning. So we had to pump in. And God has been good. I think that's what I'll say. Shout out to Spotify for the fund. Really revolutionized our brand, really revolutionized our approach to business. But there's something I have to mention when it comes to monetization of intellectual property in Kenya. It's a real problem. As creatives in this room, we have to ask ourselves the questions. Where are our intellectual property rights and how do they acquiesce in terms of how much money we make and how we create value for ourselves as a business? There's someone in this room who's made a huge step, and it's Miss Mandy with her spice business. And I think that's something we have to take a special look at because we create communities, but we do not effectively monetize them by creating products. Now, what ends up happening is that we end up being very reliant as IP creators on brand partnerships. It creates a very disproportionate relationship, even contractually. Take some time, read your contracts. Your contracts say everything you make is owed to me perpetually, in perpetuity, until the day you die. And if your son wants it, even him, he can't have it. It's ours. We don't think much about our intellectual property rights as creatives. And as podcasters, I've had to have some really tough conversations about that, about what about usage rights when it comes to our intellectual property? What about our image rights when it comes to intellectual property? What about our monetization strategies for B2B when you're working with brands? I think there are a lot of questions there that we still have to iron out as creatives and as podcasts as well. Now to take it back to our funding and our monetization strategy as Mantalk, we've been B2B, we've been working a lot with brands, and we thank God for that. But I think the next level for us, and we're already seeing it with our colleagues on set, is we need to create exciting experiences, whether it's in merchandise, whether it's in products, so that we can be able to share it with everyone in this room. Because creatives can only support themselves before our audience starts to support us. I think that's my experience.
Incredible.
Joyride, you guys need to relax though, because like sometimes we sit with our team and we're like, okay guys, they are on their 57th live experience of the year. What are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? I don't even know how you guys manage that much interaction. So I think you guys are doing amazing. You are setting the bar. You are setting the standards.
Thank you. I think we look at our audience as a community, and how can we engage with this community. Also, we don't limit ourselves to Nairobi. I think that's a challenge sometimes people make. We all want to concentrate on the urban market. Yeah. When I started doing podcasting, I was very worried about, will this thing ever blow up to the mass market? Because you see, coming from music, if you're not a mass market artist, it kind of becomes hard to make money. So when I came to podcasting, I was like, so how are we going to have fans in Nakuru, Eldoret, Mombasa? How are we going to reach out to them? And I was shocked that the other day I was told that some of the Mashinani radio stations, their biggest shows are podcasts. This show was actually done by like a priest. So like when he doesn't come do the show, people really call in and they cause a lot of chaos. Like, where is our podcast, you know? One of the biggest, I think it's Ghetto Radio. One of the biggest shows is a podcast. And that demographic already really speaks to me a lot, because it's showing me that now the wave has just started. You remember when YouTube was just for cool kids back then, and right now, no, I'm not attacking you. You guys were pioneers, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. You guys were the urban guys. So kama uko unajua English, wachana YouTube na ubaki Tinder. But you see, right now podcasts now we have so many Sheng podcasts that are doing very well. So this community is just starting. And for YouTube, I heard YouTube was saying that this year they'll have to create a tab specifically just for podcasts. So we're just getting started. And my advice to anyone is, don't limit yourself to the urban Nairobi. You can do your podcast in Kiluya, my guy, Kakamega guys. Kwanza, they love conversations, you know. Yeah. So that's something maybe. So that's why we were like, how can we take Joyride outside of Nairobi? And when we did last month, we did Kabarak, and we were shocked that guys were traveling from LD to come. Guys were traveling to where there are whole cities, by the way, outside of Nairobi. There are people who love Mantalk and they're in Meru, you know.
Yes, they are.
And they'd really love you to be there as well.
Just to add a little bit more, kind of a spin on that, is we focus a lot on Nairobi, but there's also the Kenyan diaspora. Guys, I went for a Sauti Sol show in London. It was packed with Kenyans. It was packed to the brim. And they love our content. They love what we're doing. And even look at Njugush and what he's managed to do. There's a lot of content that you can create that appeals to who you are. And just be yourself, and you'll be surprised. Yeah.
I'm just going to take a quick break and say, guys, there is lots of snacks. Feel free to get up, move, have it as we're going along. Just told me to say that. Cool. So, guys, as much as we're going to get to the monetizing stage. When you're starting the podcast, there's a method to the madness. There's a structure to episodes. You've mentioned the seasons. Have you guys sort of pivoted how your podcast looks as you've evolved? And what have you learned in terms of structure when it comes to length of episodes, segments, etc.? Marugi or Wanjiro?
Okay, I can go for Joyride. I think at season 3 or 2, our stories with Ben were becoming so repetitive. I mean, we are only the idea behind the Joyride is we have to share from our own experience. So you just can't come and give advice. You have to have lived an experience to share it. So we felt that by like season 3, we're only 2 years, not even 2 years, maybe a year and change married. The stories were becoming repetitive. We haven't lived so much, or we haven't experienced so much for us to share so much. And so we decided, okay, after season 1, let's do guests, okay? Because there are also some topics we can't be authorities in. We can't talk about kids. We don't have kids. We don't know. So we decided now let's start to open up to guests. And then now, again, in season 3, as I was saying, we noticed our conversations were becoming so repetitive. Let's separate. And that's how the male show by Ben and the female show by me, the Den and the Nook, were born. All right? So let's have different conversations away from each other and see how that play out. So they were born out of a necessity to keep on keeping it fresh with the audience. Yeah.
Yes, so I feel like it's like I'm compelled to have to speak after you, you know? It's like, let's tufike home. Nambona leo uko unaongea after me. Just drama. So the thing is, also, like, I remember the first season we did it inside in our house. That was our couch. Then the second one we were doing it at Airbnbs because I feel like we had exhausted our house. And then also we were now, the fact that we were hosting other people, we needed, we don't want to bring everyone inside our house. Anjuri is very protective about her house, you know. I'm just a guest there. And then now we're starting season 4. We've now established our own podcasting studio, which eventually we are going to open up to lending to other podcasters who are coming up as well. So I think it's just a journey of growth and a journey of a step of faith. And some of these things require a high level of risk, but then sometimes when you put high risk, sometimes you get high reward, sometimes you get a high level experience, you know. You know, there are no losses to this, you know. Even if you fail, you've gotten a very high level experience. So we want to see also how that will turn out. Yes.
So for us, our structure has remained pretty much consistent throughout. We haven't really changed that much. When we first started TMI, we started by doing like seasons and episodes. Although thinking back, I don't think we had like necessarily a strategy around it. We just like kind of saw Mantalk does like seasons. So we just put like, oh yeah, let's just say season 1 episodes weekly. But recently we made a decision that actually for the first time since we started TMI, we're actually going to take a break at the end of the year. So for maybe a month to a month and a half, we won't have any episodes up, just so that we can, you know, just take a step back, look at what we've created, see what we want to change, see if we want to refresh the look and the feel a little bit. For some reason, Sisi had Kosangi's story, I don't know, or maybe, yeah, it's because we're explicit, maybe that's why. But I mean, we kind of feel like our content has, I think it was Miss Mandy who was saying something about like listening to your audience and growing in the direction of what they want to talk about. So like when we first started our podcast, we had said we want to talk about careers and love and marriage and I don't know, sex. But it was clear to us that our audience just mostly love when we talk about sex, like a lot, because I guess there's just not that much sex content out there. So we've kind of now grown to be known as the Sex Podcast, which we don't mind. At first, we kind of were just like, no, we don't want them to think that we are rebellious or something. But now we don't mind it. And so we listen a lot to what our audience is saying. Please talk about this particular thing. Please talk about this particular thing. So a lot of it is born off of what our audience is telling us to do. But we're really looking forward to actually taking this break so that we can, as Wanjiro and Ben have said, it's like kind of just like looking at, okay, what have you created, and then seeing how can you transition, or how can you grow, how can you better what you're already doing great at.
Okay, wow, I've learned a lot actually. Mantalk is currently on a break. How have our segments changed over time? We started off focusing primarily on the question of vulnerability among men, because that was a problem we were trying to solve, which is at the time when Mantalk started, suicide rates among young men and boys were astronomically high. And Eli and I set out to say we have to build a brand and be a counterbalance to a lot of the voices that were available online. And we have put out a lot of content relative in relation to that. And then we realized that we might be constraining ourselves, because there's a lot more to being a man than just talking about your emotional vulnerability or your mental health. There's also how we interact with culture. Now, when the question of culture stepped into the room with our podcast, very quickly we realized it's time to open up that space to have conversations around ourselves as men and how we interact in different contexts. So hence, Man Talk evolved into not just a podcast for men, but a podcast for men in an ever-evolving society. And once we brought everybody into the room with every piece of context and ideas and philosophies that they may bring to us, we saw our podcast grow. And so I think segment-wise, what has ended up happening is, as Eli and I have also grown in our personal lives, so have our audience. And a lot of young men start in season 1 and finish in season 14 being like just completely different people. And that's kind of been the experience. Now we are on our way to the 15th season. As men who started a podcast when we were 26, now we are 30. So now it's time for Eli and I to bring in that maturity and that perspective and that hardship, because life is hard. Yeah, it might look like we're just bougie guys. Yeah, it might look like we're bougie guys who, we don't go through much in life, but we have our own difficulties, and it's time for us to open up that space to include that difficulty. And Eli and I are currently in the process of, with Beryl, of course, we are currently in the process of massaging the brand to open that up, and also to make ourselves more accessible. I think one of the things that happens when you start a podcast in Ruaka, in a barber shop, and then find yourselves in a different country, is you can lose touch. You can lose touch with what's happening in the everyday lives of Kenyans. And for us, that's something we don't want to do. We want to reach and listen to our audiences and try and create a more interactive type of man talk, something that everyone can relate to and have fun with. Yeah.
So my final question, because I'm going to open up to you guys afterwards, so start preparing, is it's such a saturated market now. A lot of us started a few years ago, but there's newer, fresher, better looking, funnier people that come on every single day. But we seem to have garnered our audience and remained with them for a long period of time. So what have you done to maintain the relevance with your audience, keep growing your audience after all those years? Because it's long-form content, it's conversation. So how have you done that on your podcast?
So for us, I would say that, like I said before, listening to the kind of content that our audience want to hear. Initially, as I mentioned, we were talking about so many different things until we realized that sex was our bullet, our silver bullet, because I really can't think of any other Kenyan podcast that really says the word sex as much as we say that word. So, that in itself keeps people coming back. Because one thing that all the adults are doing is having sex. So that means everybody is going to be interested in that conversation about it, because it's not necessarily from a vulgar point of view, or it's more from educational. It's more people are going through this. It's more like these are the challenges. How do we all help each other out? Are you safe? Are you protected? That kind of thing. So for us, it's been a lot, like that element specifically, I think is one of the main reasons why we were able to grow as fast as we did. The consistency as well, I would say. And also just engaging with your audience beyond just the podcast or beyond just the one thing that you're doing. Because you could be maybe a content creator, but how else do you engage with your content, with your audience? Whether it's like events, as you guys have said, or if it's even responding to them in the DMs, it is doing IG lives, something that basically helps them see that you're like me, but you're just there. And we are like having a conversation, even though technically you're not having a conversation, but you're relatable. They understand what you're saying. They're interested in what you're saying. Maintaining the quality, of course, thanks to Beryl. That helps. That has helped a lot.
Marigi, you've mentioned at the beginning that you listened to what your audience said. They said they wanted more topics on sex, right? But when you started the podcast, they didn't know what you were going to give them, but they were receptive to it. So as you're on your journey, how do you differentiate how much you should give them of what they've asked for, or how much you should give them because they don't know they need it yet? So how do you make that balance?
Okay, so basically, like in terms of how we determine our topics and what we're going to talk about, so we because the podcast was born out of our friendship, it was born out of conversations that Lydia and I would ordinarily have. So we like to think of the podcast as like it's other people just listening in on our conversations. So we already have like a list of topics. Like if we experience anything, like or I see something on Instagram, I just send to him like podcast episode, you know, because we're just like, we can have conversations around that. But we also leave room for people to suggest things. But ultimately, we are the ones who decide whether or not we're going to do it, because there's many things that people suggest that we're just like, you know, like Wanjiro said, sometimes you're not an expert in something, or perhaps it's just not something that we care enough about. And we always like when people are watching our episodes for them to be like, I can tell she really cares about this topic. I can tell that she's having fun and that she wants to actually be there and she wants to be having this conversation. So we give them a voice, but we make the choice.
That rhymed. Yeah.
I just made that up.
What is that? Goodness me.
Write that down.
Give them the voice, they make the choice. Joyriders, how have you remained relevant over this long period of time?
No, okay. First of all, we're a team of three. Jared is made up of Wanjiro, Ben, and Barak. Barak is our producer, manager, and just strategist all around. So we normally sit down and ask ourselves, so where are we taking guys in this season? You see, also, the thing about remaining fresh is it goes back to the authenticity of the podcast. Because when people are listening to a podcast, they can easily tell when something is not real or when something is real. People tap into your energy, the energy that you carry. That's what people tap into. So we try as much as possible to have what we stand for. We just don't stand for anything. Like, we also have our values. We're believers and all that stuff. We believe in marriages. We believe in relationships. So people who connect with us are the people who also want to believe in the same thing. So the moment we grow with them, and you'll realize that as human beings, more or less we're going through the same problems. We're all doubting ourselves. We're all asking ourselves if we are good enough. We're all scared about starting a venture over there. So these natural things that are happening in your life, once you translate it to the people, you start realizing that you're not going through it alone. They're also going through it. I love you see, for the Joyride, people saw us when we were doing videos with Wanjiro, the makeup videos. We were still so small. We got married, now we have a podcast. People have seen the podcast grow. People have seen it do shows. So the people who follow you, or people who are your subscribers, they believe in the vision that you have, because they sense that there's somewhere you're taking them. So, and that's also where it brings the other thing where you've asked that sometimes, yes, we do listen to what they want, but sometimes they also don't know what they want. So we introduce to them something new, because I don't think anyone had mentioned that maybe Benny should do a male show, maybe Wanjiro should do a female show. But when you introduce it to them, they're like, oh, okay, maybe this is something that we didn't know we needed. Sometimes demand is also created by oversupply. You just oversupply until now, okay, now people just have to start demanding it. You know, the laws of economics are normally demand creates supply, but sometimes also when you oversupply, demand also comes. So those are some of the few ways that we try to keep ourselves relevant and just stayed to our goal and focus. So no matter what happens, if there's a new podcast tomorrow, they are trending to #1, that's some good stuff, you know. Maybe our goal is not just to always be trending or always to have views. And I know sometimes this comes in amongst creators. Then when you follow that trend, you start to lose yourself. And then after like 2 years, that thing starts to catch up with you. You're lost in the whole system. So we try and keep it as natural and organic as possible. So what you see is what you're getting. And that is what fuels our growth. Yeah, 1-0.
How do we stay relevant? I think for me, strategy has been very, very important, has been very, very key. At the beginning of every season, we sit down as a team. We say, this is what we want the season to look like. These are the thematic areas we want to explore. These are the campuses we want to tour. This is how we want the live experience. I think we did that in June for this season. And so that kind of keeps me grounded in the entire season, that I know whatever happens, whatever is happening online, Joyride, this is our laser focus, and this is what we need to go. And we found that our audience has also buys into that slowly, whether they know it or they don't. Yeah.
Wow, tough act to follow, guys. What has kept Mantalk fresh? Community, consistency, and concepts. And I'll explain those three paradigms on their own. First of all, our community through Instagram Lives. that consistent conversation with our community where it's like, what did you do this week? How are you growing? What difficulties are you going through in life? What are you guys up to this week? What are you guys up to next week? What ideas do you have? What happened in your life that's toxic that you don't want to talk about? All that engagement with our community allows us to maintain authenticity, like you've said, but it also allows us to kind of know the direction of where we're going to take the next season. So our community is a huge part of how we stay relevant and how we stay fresh. Like I haven't been in Nairobi since December, but our community has stayed engaging with our content, and that's something that we're extremely grateful for. The second one is consistency. The thing that Ben has explained very well is that the law of economics are this way. Sometimes when you create a supply of a product, the market will consistently demand for that product. And when you're consistent and you corner a specific section of the market, people will keep coming to you because you're consistently giving them what they're looking for. And that's what everyone on this panel has successfully done. So consistency is a key part because anyone can start a podcast, but not anyone can do a podcast consistently. The third one, concepts. Concepts are very important. I have to tip my hat off to TMI because on Fridays, I usually see this dance. When I see that dance, I know that there was conceptualization on how to engage an audience week by week. And even with Man Talk, we have to come up with concepts. Eli and I have to sit down in a room and say, look, comedic skits are slapping. Me and you can be funny. Let's try and be funny. So that whole, just understanding what works conceptually and bringing in different concepts through your content gives your audience the engagement that they require to be able to stick to and vouch for your content as podcasters. And I think that's where innovation happens. Beryl will bill you, but that's where innovation happens. So I think that's how we've stayed fresh. That's the formula we've used and we'll continue to use.
Okay, guys, you're not going to like me very much, but we have to adapt the schedule and not take questions. But what we can do is when we're downstairs in the mixer, come up to us, ask us podcast questions, because we want to move to the next panel. I hope that's okay. So I want to give a round of applause to you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand over now to Victor Minor, who's going to do the next panel.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Technical, featuring Kimanzi, Beryl,
Wonderful. Should I call
and
Rotimi again?
moderated by Victor Maina.
Because of time, I think we'll move on really quickly. Yeah, you can play the video. I guess give an insight on our next panelists. All right, so the technical panel. The reason why we felt this panel discussion would be really important is there's a lot of work that goes behind the content you see. And you've had Beryl being mentioned a couple of times, so I'm going to invite Beryl, please. Beryl is a digital strategist, videographer, and editor. She's grown so much and formed a production company and carved a niche into podcasting productions. So give a clap for Beryl, please. We have Kimanzi. For those of you who are not familiar with Kimanzi's work, Kimanzi is a creative genius, I'd like to call him. He has a lot of background in marketing. He's worked on some of the biggest campaigns in the country. And at the same time, he has really given us some amazing content online. Yeah, he's known for transitions. But basically, Kimanzi is the guy who comes up with content that you wouldn't understand how it would flow, but it would keep you so engaged. So give a round of applause for Kimanzi as he comes. I am going to request we had a panelist, Leon Malu, for those of you who might know him, but he wasn't able to make it. So I'm going to call upon Rotimi again. And the reason why I'd like to call Rotimi up on stage is most of the content you see Rotimi creating is shot by him, and he has some really dope content. And he has built, yeah, transitions again. He's built such a beautiful business around his content. So one common thing you will notice about the panelists we have today, like right now, on this session is they have leveraged content to really build up their businesses. So round of applause for Rotimi again. Rotimi. Speaking of, I know Beryl was just listening to her clients. She's like, yes, yes, guys. I love it. Beryl, I'll start with you. How have you exploited the value of content to really build onto your craft?
I think for me, there's someone who had said that they became an influencer by mistake. And I think I am also in that category. That was really not the goal. But I think as I started or continued growing in the craft, I realized that a lot of people want to see what happens behind the scenes. And I decided to use social media now to start showcasing that, because most of the times we see the finished product, but we don't see all the things that happen behind the scenes, and even the interactions that people in production have with the content creators. So I decided to start showcasing more of that. And I'd say that's how even people knew that now I actually do podcasts, because before that there was no visibility. So I'd say social media for me has given me that visibility, and I've also been able to show the humorous side of doing productions. So when we make those jokes, what to a sound, it's because there's something there. Those guys can give you a headache. So showing those things that go on behind the scenes, I feel is how I have leveraged on social media. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think Kimanzi, you would still take the same question. Maybe just to mention, I know Kimanzi on a personal level, and I know that you are beyond your content. Your content has even driven clients to ask you for your expertise in coming up with campaigns, just to drive, communication that they have created. How have you leveraged content creation to add on to your craft?
Hi.
Hi.
It's been a long journey and a fruitful one for that matter. Creating value has not just happened by luck. It's taken time. Because even when I remember when I started, it was even pre-pandemic, but it was on a different level. It was not as big as it is right now. But what was important was if I can find a way to keep bettering my craft, if it involves getting a better phone, getting a better camera, whatever it is, the end goal was to create value in everything I do. Because working for brands, over time you get, brands are offering you value in form of money. My question all the time was, what am I offering back? Am I offering back in a sense that they'll just see a video because they gave me a brief? Or will they see a video and see, okay, yes, we feel like there was money used here. You see, like if you take a car to a car wash, there are a million car washes in the city. There are some who will wash your car with river water. It'll still be clean. There are some who will invest in washing your car with the best, those drive-in car washes, the same results. But where do you feel like, yes, my money, I'd rather spend more where I feel they are into details. I live knowing that is money well spent. So I started looking at it in a way like, I need that factor. I need people to say, that's money well spent. What do I need to do that? Increase my quality of work. If I need to sell a product via video or photos or anything, how do I create it in a way that I add value, not only for clients, but also to myself? Remember, you're also starting up, so you want to make a brand of your own. Because at the end of the day, brands come and go. What remains is yourself. Today you'll work with the biggest brands, tomorrow you'll work with a startup, the other day you'll work with brands that are every day. But at the end of the day, who is Kimanzi? What does Kimanzi do? And how do you approach Kimanzi? So one of my mottos over the years has always been, let your last work be your pitch for the next work. And in that line, over time now you get like clients come to you beyond just what you produce online to want to pick your brain. I think, thank God, not over coffee. So you're able to get something out of it. Yeah, so you end up spending time in boardrooms trying to make clients sell every different thing and vision they have in a digital manner. Some, be it digital, some above the line. And I would credit that to also working in marketing for 5 years, 5, 6. Yeah, so I was able to learn the two folds of marketing from a client perspective, from a technical perspective, and also work as a creator to know it from a consumer perspective and a creator perspective. So you learn about a product from a 360 perspective that helps you sell it in the simplest way and most understandable way, but also tick a box.
I love that. Your last content should be your pitch for the next campaign. Yeah. Rotimi, how would you answer the same question? Because I have seen your brand grow and take off, to a whole business on different businesses actually, to a point where your content has enabled you to handle marketing for brands like Skate City, Soreti, and Pocket Gym. You have really exploited the power of social media and content to add on to your business. Could you tell us, how you did that, or share?
Okay. Backstory is, when I started out, 2018, I knew nothing about content creation. And this guy, Victor, was one of the first person that I engaged with when it comes to content creation. I had an idea for me to do like a biggest gainer thing on YouTube then. So I got Victor to do it. I think he charged me like 15K.
Yeah, 15K.
Yeah, per episode, So I paid 15K per episode for 7 episodes, 8 episodes. The last one was even more expensive than that. And I wanted to keep up with such, but I was thinking like financially, okay, yeah, we can't keep spending this money.
I mean, it was, I was happy.
But like, I would like to learn about these things, how do you do it? So I kept trying it, and at the end, when I do a content, I'll send to Victor, I'll be like, what do you feel about this one? He'll be like, hey, that color, can you, increase the contrast, do this, do that. And as time goes on, I got to understand about so many things about content creation. I think something about me is whatever I want to do and I put my mind to, I will really get better at it. I'll really get so good at it. Doing researches and what people want and what people want to see, trying as much as possible to get better at delivering content, to deliver a message to audiences is something that I've really been able to capitalize on. And today, it is easy for me to have an idea and be able to execute in such a way that people would understand. And it doesn't really have to be fitness. I mean, we've been able to do, I worked with Soreti, I worked with Pocket Gym, I worked with, I've been on with Skate City. And it's been the same template, understanding what the vision is and how we're going to deliver a message that people would understand what this brand stands for. And I think that is what I've been able to do so far.
I like that. I'm just gonna expound a bit on also what I do because I feel like we all sit at the same space. I run a production company, Visual Masters, but I didn't understand the power of branding and the power of exploiting social media until, I had gotten this client and they were looking for a videographer. We can just get a guy to do video. And that didn't sit well with me because I was like, are we like just a pool? Like you can pick one? I wanted to stand out. I wanted to make something different and be able to stand out from everyone else. And for me, I needed someone to say, I want to work with Victor Minor. The same way people want to say, I want to work with Kimanzi, I want to work with Beryl. I want Beryl to shoot my podcast. And there's power in branding yourself, even if you are behind the camera. And that's really the importance of this panel. The videographers and photographers, yes, they are in plenty, but like any other field, there are so many actors in the world, but you'll still go watch a Denzel movie. And there's a reason for that. And I felt the need to want to appear and showcase that this is my work. It also helps you to put the best foot forward in what you're creating. And I feel like that's how I leveraged content to secure a place for myself to get more business. Because that's how Rotimi got to know about me. It was someone who told him, this is the guy to go to. I don't know any other videographer, but because I'm probably pushing that this is what I do, then the client was referred to me. And we have been friends since. And what I really like about your journey is that you have learned the most you can from the people who have the technical skills around you. So this now leads me to, to my next question. How much technical skill do I need if I'm seated there and I want to film content? I cannot afford that 15K that Victor is asking for in 2018. It's important to say. How much would it take for me to understand how to put my first piece of content? Because a criteria we were using to select most of the people who we invited were people who have either started the journey or people who have shown signs of wanting to be part of the process. Because you can invite someone who's interested, but until you take the first step, it's very difficult. And you know, it's very hard for you to say, okay, I'm going to start tomorrow. Like Rotimi says, tomorrow doesn't matter, right now is what matters. So yeah, how much skill do I need to understand the space? This could be for any of you. Anyone can answer this. Kimanzi?
I believe you just need the will first. You just need the motivation and just not sit on it. You just need to start. Because without starting, you'll always procrastinate and feel like everything is not right. I don't have the best phone, I don't have the best camera, I don't have the best of anything. And you'll have a lot of imposter syndrome. And that's something that many people suffer. And through talks, through people expressing themselves, you never know what you're sitting on until you start. Same way, like it's a business. You never know, or even a song, you never know if you have a hit song if you only listen to it alone in the studio. So the only way you're able to share your craft and have people accept it is by opening it up to the world. Be ready for criticism, be ready for praises, because people only see the praises, the criticism can get to them. They're able now to feel like, no, this is not for me. But how you go past it defines your character as well, because we're in a field where there are no structures, so a lot of things can come your way. People feel like, the audience feel like you're obligated to do certain things the way they want you to do it. So if you're a weakling or you don't have a strong will and character, it's easy to get swayed by anything and you start losing focus on all those things. But like I started with a friend's phone. I didn't have a phone that could shoot videos, but I just needed something to shoot me, and I was lucky to have a friend who had a nice phone. So I was like, help me your phone, I shoot, edit, and I post before he goes home, because if he goes with my stuff, I don't know, the phone might be stolen, something might happen, or he might delete it to do something. So yeah, you see, I just needed a phone, and he was able, at least the other time, there was no 15,000 to pay. So there was 0 shillings. But yeah, just create content. So that way I was able to have a friend who helped me with his phone. We're able to shoot, and in the shortest time possible, get it done, edit, and post before now you can go with your phone. And now you start like, oh, but I couldn't even get the responses because, again, remember, so I have to wait for him the following day and say, oh, guys, this is actually people like, okay, let's do another one. Because you're in the spur of the moment, just trying to churn out content so that you're able to see where it will guide you. Because I'm envious of the people sitting here, because when we started, we didn't have forums like this. We didn't have workshops. We had no one to look up to. So having a place where you can know, I want to take this journey, and I can go listen to these people who have paved the way for us. We were walking in, I know, a dark room. You don't even know where there's a wall or anything, but you're just able to say, let me just see where this will take me. And slowly by slowly, also your own will and strength takes you to, opens doors for you. You got a first client, not because you're looking for clients, but because you are creating content, because you feel like creating. So when I got into the space, there were no clients at all, by the way. So it was just creating for fun, or creating because you feel like I cannot sleep without creating this content. It's disturbing me, it's eating me up, so I need to channel it out. And then over time, you're able to create that thing for long, and then brands start noticing like, oh, it's like a CV. You can't go into an MD's role with a janitor's CV. So you're able to see, okay, this is what happens. And now slowly by slowly, you're able now to start getting one client. I don't need 10 clients to prove what I can do. You just need one good client, work with them to the best of your capabilities, and then from there, things start working out for themselves. So that's how the journey has been on my end.
So starting with what you have and just trying it out.
I would say, because now the problem, people have this worry of, I don't have money to start content.
Yes.
I don't have the best equipment to start. And there are people who are willing to save up for a long time until they get. But if you feel like you can start with whatever you have, things come along the way. Case example, look at, let's say, let me even use Sauti Sol, how they started their career and what they're doing right now. Did they need to wait for them to have the best equipment to produce music? BN says he never likes to listen to the first album because they used 20,000 shillings to create the entire album. They didn't have money, they were lended money. But they still wanted to produce the songs. If they waited until they had the best studios, academies, and all these things, we could get to hear them now when they're breaking up. So we'd never have to enjoy South Soul like that. Ethic and the likes, like Ethic started with a music video with a phone.
Yeah.
Now they produce stuff with best producers in the country. So I still believe whatever you have, work with it first, and then things will open up.
Yeah. To echo on what he said, I've been trying to use that. Yeah. So I think you just need 3 basic things. Yeah. Number 1, you need a phone. Number 2, you need internet, and number 3, you have to have that willingness to do the hard work and have the grit to like succeed. Like you just have to have your phone and your internet. Number 1. Once you have that, you have access to the whole world, right? And once you understand that it won't be easy, right? I mean, you might try 10, 12 contents and you may blow up, regardless of the quality. We've seen people with not so good quality videos and they blow up because their content is just interesting, right? But as long as you have your phone and you have the internet, you have access to the whole world, which is really what you need. And the next thing that you have to do is just be consistent at what you do. Consistently try to grow, try to become better with what you do. If it's the quality, if it's the transition, if it's how you deliver your content. I think those are the 3 basic skills, things that you need to start creating.
I think my mic is out. Battery. Thank you. Beryl, I'm going to ask, if I'm in the audience, I'm picking an instance of, when we started, and I want to work with these content creators, and I want to film for them, or I want to grow to that level where people pay me for, for my skills. what do I need and where do I need to start? Where would you recommend? Because we got a lot of questions regarding editing and just skills that encompass videography, photography, and production in general. Where do I start?
I'd say the first place to start is investing your time into the craft. Because the truth is, for technical things, you cannot just learn them out of the air. You have to spend time. You have to invest in, even if it's online platforms, there's a lot of people who teach on YouTube how to set up a camera or how to set up a phone to get the best quality possible. And those are settings that are inbuilt in the phone. So even before you go to the camera, can you shoot something good with your phone? And have you explored your phone to the point where you can shoot something that is almost competing with a camera? So there are so many avenues, and you have to invest in your time if you want to start. So before you even get to shooting commercially, can you use what you have? What do you have? And can you shoot the best possible quality with what you have? Can you exhaust it first before you start looking at Sony and Canon and Nikon, from your phone? What can you shoot? What can you get out of it? And then also you can accessorize, even if your phone is not the best. We have so many things that are helping these days in terms of shooting. There are those inbuilt small cameras that you can attach to your phone to get better quality. There are mics that you can attach to your phone. So we have so many resources that you can use even before you get to the level where now you're purchasing your first camera. And the truth is, you can have a camera but you don't know how to use it. You can have the best camera in the market but your quality is crappy simply because you do not know how to use that camera. So I would say start in investing online platforms, learning how to use what you have first before you invest in other things. And the second thing I'd say is don't be afraid to fail. Sometimes we want perfection so much to the point where we miss out on the beauty of growing and learning. The first set I shot at was, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but it was for Gina Dean. And she was shooting Shaping African Conversations, and she was doing an interview with Najib Balala. First of all, I had a crush on Najib Balala. So that already, it made things very difficult. So it's like when he came on set, I forgot everything. But that day, I remember I pressed the record button for audio in my head, but physically, I didn't do it. So these guys have spoken about Africa and Kenya and investment and what, I'm telling you, and tourism and all these things, and I'm there nodding, and this whole time, audio has not been recording. So when they are doing the outro, that's when I'm like, this thing is supposed to have a red button. I've not seen the red light in this thing. And I press it, and now it shows me recording. I lost it. So I was just like, excuse me, guys, I need to take a bathroom break. I went to the washroom, cried my eyes out. Then I came back. I remembered I serve a God who works miracles. So I took that recorder and I said, God, bring this audio. Bring this audio. But it did not happen. It did not happen. So I was there. I have, the recording, but I have the footage, but I do not have audio. And I remember saying to myself, I'm not going to let this happen ever again. Because I told myself, this shouldn't have happened. It happened because I did not take time. I used to tell myself, miss him to a sound, so I don't need to learn that skill. And ikaniramba. And that was, it was just a whole mess. And having now to explain why we don't have audio, Najib has already gone back, it was crazy. But from that moment, I decided that for every piece of equipment that I want to get, even before I buy it, I will sit with online platforms. I will learn everything that I need to learn about this piece of equipment. I will take time and sacrifice if I need to. And sometimes I'd even stay late into the night just watching people talking about how to set up a recorder, how to connect cables, how to set up a camera, how to set up lights. And sometimes it can be tiresome because you have to do it over and over again. But I would say before you get into the commercial side of things, ask yourself, have I learnt the skill that I need with whatever I have, and then upgrade slowly. Once you have exhausted your phone, and now you can shoot with your phone and shoot good quality with your phone, now you can go into, okay, what camera can I get? And then grow from there. So that's what I would say.
Wow, I really liked your story on not pressing record. This has happened to a lot of people, myself included. And I know one trick, I'm just stealing a trick for you guys. I usually go like, I like that take, but we can do better. There's a part you gave me and I feel you could bring it out. You're talking about Africa and the landscape that is there. I feel you could give us more facts. Do we have any numbers,
Okay, that's 10 minutes in, 45 minutes. How do you do that? How do you...
On the bright side, you met Balala.
How do you do... It's true.
A win is a win.
I did. But also, it taught me how to... There's this thing now I do before every shoot, and it can be annoying, but I call everything in the shoot. So camera 1, rolling. And until the light is red, that's when you're like, okay, camera 2, rolling, camera 3. So a lot of times people would say in my BTS, like, why do I do that? And I'm like, there's a story of pain attached
I love that.
to this, but it helps because now once you call everything out, 1 rolling, 2 rolling, 3, audio rolling, and then now you know you're good.
You still have a crush on Najib?
Okay.
No.
All right. So I watch a lot of content, and there's content you would watch and see a lot of thought went into this. And I know even before you create for clients, there's a lot of thought that goes into the entire output of the concept or the content. I would like you guys to just touch on the art of storytelling, especially on a technical aspect, and just expound on why it is so important to create value for your clients and to overall just save you time when it comes to to your review phase. Because you can shoot something, the client will say, this is what I want, and you shoot. I want to walk there, make it slow motion. And then it's nice, you've marketed the dress, but once you edit and hand out, or you've packaged the content, you get feedback like, hey, it's not giving. It's maybe add oomph or make it nicer. It's very difficult to get such feedback. And I know conceptualizing the whole piece of content that you're going to put out is important. So I would like you guys to tackle on storytelling and planning before filming any content. Specifically, I know Kimanzi, you end up working with so many people. There's a makeup artist, there's fire, there's an acrobat, there's a green screen, there's a transition, you're on a spaceship. I've seen you be in war, World War I. I've seen you, becoming Johnny Walker. I've seen you, do so much. Yes, please. So please, yeah.
I'm being attacked. For me, storytelling is very crucial in everything. Life is about storytelling. In whatever form, you listen to podcasts because they storytell. They talk about many things, but they have a format. Music videos have a storytelling. Movies, you enjoy movies because you are watching a story, a series. Almost everything in our life and surroundings all about storytelling. So when it comes to like what we do in the digital space, remember we are in a platform. If I ask anyone around here, how many times do you scroll your phone on Instagram to just check on video content? In a day, you'd scroll around, 1,000 videos. Whether you watch all of them or you don't, you'll end up consuming. We're in an era of digital space where you consume a lot of content. So by the time you put your head down at the end of the day, what content stuck in your mind? What do you stick remembering? Oh, by the way, I watched that one. Did I get the thing right? Can I watch it again? So how do you keep people hooked in whatever you do? And for that to happen, you have to keep people connected. And the only way to connect with people in the easiest way is storytelling. When we were kids, we were given bedtime stories. That has never stopped. You flirt with your baby until you sleep. You do stories. So storytelling is a foundation for almost everything that we do, and everyone does. So for me, I always, if I pick on a product, I want to study the product to the level I want to understand it from all angles. From a client angle, why are they selling this product? What is the message they want to pass out? From a consumer perspective, I'm like, okay, I'm being sold this thing. What do I need to be told for me to buy it? Like earlier on, Patricia said the same thing. I always echo. If I can't buy it, it will be hard for me to sell it as well. So I also need to believe in the product. So if I look at from all lenses, I'm like, okay, story that connects the brand to the audience and the consumer. First you attract an audience, then after that you're able to reach to the consumer. And now that's where I start looking at, when you say Waldo, I go into stories. I look into the history of Vaseline. How did Vaseline come up? Vaseline came up because it was a medical, it was used as to heal wounds in Waldo. Then I'm like, oh, so this story is never told. We just go to the shelf, buy a Vaseline, and we go and use it in various ways, whichever however you use it.
Indeed. Rotimi, you have created something very unique called Project 60, and you have used the fitness narrative to bring more than 2,000 people together to actively participate on this program. And you've done it, this is your 5th edition. You create content for 60 days around the same program. How has the art of storytelling really helped you execute this vision?
Okay, so I believe creating content always involves an art of storytelling in it. I feel like storytelling builds curiosity. It's like if I start counting, if I tell you I want to start counting from 1 to 10, you know that I'm starting from 1 and I'm going to 10, you know. When you start telling a story, there is a beginning and people expect an ending to it, so they are glued to it. And if you can master the act of storytelling, then you'll be able to deliver the ordinary in an extraordinary way, which is everything about creating a content. How can you deliver a simple message in a very interesting way that people, there are so many contents in the world. There are billions of contents. But what would make someone sit down and watch your content? It is how you can deliver your message. And I feel like storytelling is something that I try to use to, fitness is not something that is so glamorous that everybody wants to do. You know, it's not something that you would want to do if I just say, let's work out, you know. Hello, Murugi.
Murugi is really shaking her head. He's like, yeah.
But again, I feel like if I can make it look a little bit interesting, make it look a little bit like tickle your fancy in a way, you know, you'd want to try it out, yeah? So I come up with different things for me to just deliver the message. Like, fitness shouldn't be something that you exhaust yourself with. It's always about just trying something and moving around and, you know, just delivering the message of fitness in a fun and interesting way. And that's how I've been able to get people who have never, ever even tried working out before to say, let me do a 5 minutes workout today because Rotimi said I shouldn't feel like dying, you know, before you get into moving. You know?
All right, so I'm going to ask if any of you have anything you would like to add, you know, before we close this session. I know time is really not on our side. Yeah. Parting shot, so to say. We could start with you, Beryl.
Okay. I think for me, I would say that skill is important, but so is character. I feel like a lot of people will take a lot of time to work on skill. And there's a passage that says that your skill will bring you before kings, but it is your character that will sustain you. So you can be the most skilled videographer or editor, but what about your character? Because if you do not have that character, then your skill is useless. Yeah.
Love that. That deserves a clap. Kimanzi is going to drop a video tomorrow morning and show you this is how I transition my skills. If you have anything to add, just a parting shot to probably, encourage the next creator, because in our audience we have people who look up to you, so this would be an ideal time. Please.
You can be allowed to be shy, yeah?
You are, yeah.
I don't know, mine is not more of a parting shot. It's something, I think let me just, like when you were introducing me and when Anchi was on stage saying transitions and all that, it's one aspect of, like, and I've heard many people here talk about these niches. What is it that people recognize you for? So is it transitions? Is it cooking? Is it a podcast? And we've seen many of us transition from different things, but there's that one thing that people got glued to you for. Doesn't mean that you stick there. You can always expand your boundaries. You can be able to, I've not done a transition, I think, in a year. Yeah, actually, I don't think I have this year. These are things I did back 21, 22 that still people remember you for, and you're able to, because when you sit back and look and you're like, I know where I'm going to sell engine oil transitioning. No, I'm going to keep doing the same thing and attract different brands with the same thing. So what more value do you have? How do you expand your boundaries? How are you able to attract more clients to work with you? It's by how you just broaden your skills. You have that you can do for fun. You also know what else do you need to do. So I think it's best you broaden your skills, and there's no boundary to it. Keep working on what you think works best for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's clap for Kimanzi. Thank you very much. Rotimi?
For me, the most important thing would be make sure you focus on getting better at what you do. It's as simple as that. Focus on what you can do better every single time you want to create a content. Life is moving fast. The internet is moving very fast. There are so many things that are coming in. So many upgrades are coming in. So many crazy people coming with crazy ideas. I love watching to learn from so many people around here. I've been able to see what people do and do best and be able to like get one thing from there and like bring it into what I do. So if I would say one thing that would help so much is just focus on being better. 1% every single day will put you ahead of many.
Let's clap for Timmy as well. I'm gonna request we just share the questions after. We'll be sure to get back to you. But on my end, I think one thing I really have learned throughout the journey is there's value in those personal connections that you form with everyone. When I first met Miss Mandy, she talked to me about the space, like in such. I think I hadn't grown that much, really. It was on my first brounder. I found myself traveling with content creators. They've carried two suitcases. Me have my backpack because I'm like, hey, why are you guys changing after every meal? And I didn't understand what's going on. I had so many questions to ask. I'm on this brand. I was working with Guinness. We've gone for a trip. I'm like, okay, guys are changing after every meal. There's content to be made. At some point, we were taking photos. I'm standing next to the photographer, and the guy is like, bro, you should be on the other side, you know? And I started asking questions, and she opened up to me and told me about the space. She didn't know me that much, I've worked with Tracy on, projects, even, videography. When she's at agency, she's recommended clients. I've worked with Rotimi. I've worked with Kimanzi. And I think there's value in those connections that you make within the spaces you find yourselves. Most of the time, people are very open to sharing what they know, a lot more than you think. So ask those questions, have those conversations, feed your curiosity. For some reason, this all builds up to what what you'll come to create. And after you've done all this, ensure to pass it on. Each one, teach one. And that's why I'm so proud of us having this forum. And I appreciate everyone for coming. That's our panel. I'm going to call Eli to... Thank you. I'm going to call Eli to come and wrap up. The last panel is about the money. This is something we know. You guys have spoken. You guys have told us about, this content business, technical, podcasting, branding. But how do I pay my bills? And we're going to talk to a few experts on that. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Creatives Workshop presents Business and Monetization, featuring the social insider, Ryan and Tracy. Moderated by Eli Mwenda.
So while Ryan comes, maybe you can start on the end and just introduce yourself, what you do.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? I am the social insider. I like to refer to myself as that. So
Come closer, please. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, I am the social insider. Yes.
Tracy?
Sorry, I'm not women in tech, but my name is Tracy. So there's two parts. I am Tracy as I'm currently a client service director at an agency, and then there's Miss Gashir, who's a content creator. So yeah, that's me.
You can pass the mic to Ryan. Is there another mic? Okay, just proceed.
Hey everyone. So I'm Ryan. I work with the Wowzy team. I'm currently head of enterprise for Coca-Cola Africa. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're just going to jump straight in. All of us say, passion, determination, creativity. But I want to know for the guys watching, the guys in the audience, first off, is there money in content creation, specifically in Kenya? Second part of that question, how have people made this a full-time job? What have they done to do that? So I think I'll start with Tracy. Is there money, and how have people made that their full-time career?
There's a lot of money in content creation, I think. And I'll even look at it globally. I've seen content creators buy houses. I've seen them buy their dream houses, travel to their dream destinations. So there's no way we can say that there's no money in content creation. It's there. Locally, it's there, but on the previous panels, we've had people say that first we're in an industry where there's no structure, we're in an industry where it's grown, but it's still green to a lot of people who sit in very high places. So people are scared to spend. There's some who are not scared to spend, but most people are scared to spend. They have the money, but we're still trying out things. And unfortunately, with content, it's become very easy and at the same time very hard to quantify return for a lot of brands. So, or rather, return on the definition of return for them is usually different. It's in terms of, I'll make money for my products. So it's very difficult. It's a space where people risk spending because the definition of return is not what we think of it us, but there is money. And then the second question was, how have people made it a full-time? It's possible and it's not possible at the same time, because the people who have sat here, for me it's not been a possible thing to do. One, because I'm so passionate about my work, actually, that's the only reason. But most of the guys who I've seen sit here, content creation is literally like their full-time job. And how they have done it is they've been very patient, first of all. They've been very patient. It's taken years. I mean, Patricia talked about 2005. It's taken years. Second thing is the patience and the consistency and just putting in the work, having the right teams, guides you towards a path where brands are able to see you, brands are seeing value, so they're spending so much money on you that you realize that why should I then go and get employed when I literally have my own company on my phone. Yeah, so that's how it's possible.
Okay. The first question was?
Is there money in content creation, specifically Kenya?
Yeah, a lot of money, honestly. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Yeah, there's a lot of money. And I think how people have been able to transition, there are two parts. Some have taken risks, like, you know, I'm quitting this job, let's see where this goes. Then others, it's like proper planning, where you say, let me see how this goes. I'm saving up. I want to maybe cover my rent for a couple of months as I'm still doing my job. Then eventually, like, the content money becomes more than what they're making. So they're able to transition. But others just, you know, I'm done. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Ryan, where's the money?
Okay, so I'll speak from a data perspective. So there is actually quite some money in, say, the content scene. Just within the East and Central Africa region, Coke has intentionally put aside about 40% of its marketing budget towards creators, which a marketing budget which is upwards of 100 million quarterly is quite some money. So, and from a day-to-day basis and also locally, we've seen, say, quite an increase in spend. Also, I'll say advertisers are also coming to understand what the role that creators come to play in the space. So they understand that it's part of a funnel. So influencers are part of a funnel. It's not the whole thing. Influencers are not expected to convert. They are supposed to create, they are one touch point across a lot of touch points to ensure that, say, a consumer actually consumes. So I'll say in real sense, there is money, a lot of it actually, but it's all about being very targeted about also where you go, say where you're getting the money. So the other question was, say, can you actually create a real income out of it? So I'll say you can, but you also have to be very intentional about it. You have to be very intentional about, say, your content creation journey. I'll say with all the creators that we've worked with, as Murugi said, I'm back again. We've never worked with guys like those. And even if someone, say, fell off and say it was, say, for just their own personal reasons that, say, are not like mental or something, I'd say guys are able to work it through. Yeah.
So when it comes to making money, my own personal journey is I started doing it just because of passion, then I realized I could make money, right? But there was a weird intersection where I was told you need to go out there, pitch to brands, give them your stats, tell them what you can do for them. And I did that, but for me, every single brand that I pitched to, it never came back. It was a case of there's no budget right now, you know, maybe hit us in the next quarter, etc. But what happened to me, the reason I could monetize it is because after I started pitching to brands, a few months later, brands started coming to me that I hadn't approached. So on a level of reaching out to brands and, you know, trying to engage with them, which is more effective? Is it pitching or is it creating the organic content first so that brands come to you? Tracy first.
In my experience, I think I've not seen pitching work. I've seen like numerous of pitches from content creators, and by the time we even give it to a client, they pack it and they somehow forget about it. Unfortunately, the industry is guarded by human beings, and the unfortunate thing about social media is most people, even clients themselves, they're on social media all the time, and they'll probably pick on someone who they really like. Unfortunately, it's really like something that is beyond any of our control. So I feel like the organic content works best because at that particular time, the client is your audience. The client becomes your audience. You don't even need to pitch anything to the client. They'll come to you. In fact, when we do the meetings, they'll already have your name in their minds, and they'll be like, how about Murugi? Or how about someone else? So most of the time, the pitching for me, I feel like you can try it out, but I feel like it only really demoralizes you as a content creator because it's like how people send out CVs for jobs. People send CVs every single time. You send it on emails, you put it up on LinkedIn, but no one is coming back to you. And unfortunately, sometimes like with jobs, it's like someone you know. So there's a recommendation. So with content, like the more organic content you create, the more you're visible in the eyes of like the agency people, the eyes of like, they're not your enemy. The client is not your enemy. The agency guy is not your enemy. So yeah, keep on doing that.
I'd say both are okay. I only came close to hiring someone who had pitched once, and it was like close. I was close. I just needed something that, they were almost there. But I've spoken to an upcoming creator during like my one-on-one sessions. They don't even have 1,000 followers on Instagram. They have like 5K on TikTok, less than 1,000. They pitched to Nice and Lovely and they got a gig. Yeah, 20K for, I don't know what, something. So it depends. It depends. Shoot your shot, I guess. But also, as she's saying, I think organic is the best. Yeah, they'll discover you, but try and pitch. You never know. Yeah.
So I think I'd say both. And the reason I'm saying this is, say, first, when you're creating content and you're being very organic about what you're putting out a lot of content also. As he said, says law, supply creates its own demand. So when you create more content, then say there's a high likelihood that the client gets to see you, brands get to see you, brands get to notice you. But also, I'll say in pitching, I'd say advice on being very targeted. So it's not like you just out there doing sales. It's more of like you going into a brand, understanding what their objectives are, what are, say, their KPIs for a certain brand for a certain year or a certain quarter. Then from there, pitch towards that. And also, don't pitch short term. When you're pitching, don't go to a client with a pitch for a campaign that you hear is coming live next month, because most often than not, they planned for it 3 months ago, 6 months ago. So if you're pitching, pitch next year. Right now, if you're pitching as an influencer, pitch 2024. Pitch forward, and also make sure that you really understand the brand, understand what their needs are, what is coming up, so that you're also not just pitching for the sake of just being seen there. Because I'll tell you for free, I've been in client offices, and the moment your pitch goes sideways, they sign out. They are not listening. So you have to be very targeted about what you're pitching and who you're pitching to.
I actually have something to add on to that, something just a light bulb moment. I remember one time, I don't know if I should say this, but Mantalk pitched to Maybelline. And it was interesting because, I'm saying the truth, right?
Yes,
a while
we
back.
pitched a lot. We
Yeah,
pitched a lot.
But
yeah.
and what he's saying about targeted pitching was, at that time, Mantalk had a lot of women on the podcast. A lot of women, or the target, or rather, the people who are listening to them were women at the point. And the pitch that they put, I wasn't even on Maybelline, but I was working with a brand that, I was working on a brand that interacts with Maybelline. And I remember seeing the pitch and I saw the numbers and data that they backed the proposal up with, and I was like, this would easily fly. So it was very targeted. It's what he's talking about. They didn't even look at it as, let's just send out a proposal and tell them about our podcast and tell them about what we talk about, but they realized that there's an audience that brand speaks to and they speak to, it's common, and they would easily benefit from it. And then possibly instead of also sending a deck as a pitch, an in-person pitch would be an easy sell as well. You see, like an event like this, there are people who sit in brand, brand meetings and whatever, and you have had the chance to come and attend the event for free. If you meet someone and just go out there and sell yourself, like talk about jiuze tu kidogo, show them your page, tell them what content you create, and it will stick. So maybe maybe you can also, over and above sending a proposal on email, try in-person pitches. Yeah.
That's interesting. We didn't get the Maybelline gig, but
yeah,
but that's okay.
They probably didn't have budget at the time.
That's
or
so we're saying it's kind of 50-50. But if we lean onto the making organic content first, if you're sat in the office and there's a list of names, what would make you go for one person's content above another? Because I see a lot of people with fantastic numbers. I look through their feed, they've never worked with a brand. That means they've been in the room, but they've not made the decision to go with them. So what normally stands out that makes you say, okay, that's the person I want to put this behind? Because ultimately it's probably a list of 10, 20, and one person gets that budget. So Ryan, how do you choose the specific person?
So first, I'd say it goes with the quality of your audience. So at the back end, we are also able to see a lot of data. We are able to see your percentage of suspicious followers. We are able to see what the quality of the audience that you currently have. Do you have follow guys? Do you have pseudo accounts that follow you? Do you have all this? So I'd say the first thing would be the quality of your audience. Second thing is actually, sadly, when you, I don't remember who said it, but seeding works very well because it shows brands that you can do brand work. You can do brand work. But when you go into someone's page and it's all just them, we'll also, from a brand safety perspective, I will work with someone who's easier to work with or someone who already has the etiquette to work with a brand, as opposed to someone who's never worked with a brand. So seeding is quite important. So as you said, someone could have fantastic numbers, but has never worked with a brand. And for that reason, I'll be skeptical because also from from human psychology, this is already perceived. It's enough people who have actually gone through this and have never worked with them. There's a reason, you see? Yeah.
A question for you. So they need to do it intentionally. Am I buying Coke to create content for it without being paid?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Personally, I just look out for unique talent. I think I have a good eye for someone who will blow up very fast. And I'm big on branding. Like I want to be associated with this unique gift that is coming up. So like the influencers I've worked with, some of them, I believe I was the first person who ever hired them. And, later now they're working with the who's and who's. So just that being yourself, but like a unique something, just something different from everyone else, yeah.
I think on my end, I'd say how we usually choose, there's usually a criteria in terms of like the metrics. Today I was pitching and we usually have to include a slide on our presentations where you talk about like what metrics have you gone about to pick the particular people on your list. So unfortunately we have to look at engagement, and that's why the podcasters who are here, the guys for brand, talked about consistency, they talked about structure, they talked about things that they talked about listening to their audience, because ideally you need the audience to engage with your content. And your engagement rate is usually the first thing we look at.
Where do they find the engagement rate? Where can like a new creator?
So like I have a personal plugin on my computer called Absoteros. And when I log on to Instagram on my computer and I just click on that plugin, it shows me your followership, your average comments, your engagement rate, it shows me everything I need to know. Yeah.
Name was, sorry? So
Absoteros. It's usually used for giveaways, but now they've literally, I'm going to send it to you so maybe you can put it somewhere.
Okay.
But it's also for you as creators, any creator here. You can easily have that on your computer. It helps you gauge yourself. So, and anyone with, unless you're really, is it Nano? Nano are the big ones, right? The mega, the ones with 1 million and above, or even 500K and above, just hundreds of thousands. If you're below, a good engagement rate is usually about 4%. That's not so much. And if you're high above, your engagement rate would probably be at about 1%. And that's only because your followers are so many, we can't compare. So for the really mega ones, engagement rate sometimes is not such a huge thing to look at. But for the macros and the micros and the 100K and below, we look at engagement rate a lot. So we look at also the type of comments that are on your posts. So if it's all just love hearts, if it's all just fire emojis, yeah, that's why I encourage you guys to tell your friends, like, to engage with you, ask questions on your posts, by the way, because a brand manager will go and see, hey, this content has gotten many comments, but all of them are fire emojis. Yet they were talking about a skincare product. Okay, let me not even say, maybe they're saying your skin is nice, but it can be, I don't know, anything. You're talking about M-Pesa, and it's fire emojis on your, so a brand will be like, okay, the quality of comments is not, they're really not engaging with my brand, they're engaging with the person, which is not wrong, but at the end of the day, they want them to get the message. So I usually tell content creators to tell your friends should be your biggest supporters. Like the first comments, let them just come and write for you, how do you use this product? How do I, like, it helps. It's not faking it, but it helps, like, it helps even the ones who are coming underneath to comment, see that, okay, people are actually asking questions and you've answered them. So yeah, so those are the things. And then also just the effort you put in your content. It doesn't have to be like quality from, I don't know, Mars or something, but the effort that you put in consistently creating content. I've had people tell me, I want to work with La Roche, but on the page, there's no skincare content at all. So I go to a brand manager and I suggest you as an influencer, and they go through your page and all they can see is probably alcohol or vibes, or so they ask me, how will this person create for me skincare content? But I see, like, they're not even interested in the topic. They're not interested in anything of that sort. So yeah, those are the things we look at, and that's why you'll see sometimes we'll put, like, there's so many amazing content creators, but they've not been selected for a brand because of those particular reasons.
For selfish reasons, I want to know. So you're saying, like, show Coke on your page, you're saying show La Roche-Posay. On the back end, does that affect the choice they make? Because if they're saying you've worked with a competitor, you showed that your organic content is with a competitor, when you now come to choose them, would that be a factor, or should you just post with the brands, make it very obvious, tag them, and you might get a brand deal with an adjacent brand?
So I'd say for a brand that, say, understands the space, they know that they don't exist by themselves in the world. In the ideal world, Coke would be the only brand, but there is Planet Soda, there is all this. But please say an ideal brand, or brands should understand, or it's also in our place to justify a choice, you see. So say most brands right now are moving from working with, say, creators directly, and are either moving into working with agencies to work with creators because it's way more easier to manage it like that. And say from an agency perspective or from Wowzy perspective, it should be easy for me, or it should be my job to justify and tell the story of why is this creator, say, yeah, they could be, say, a lover of Guinness, but they are perfect for, say, Kasolaga or could be any beer, but they could be perfect for say an brand. So it's always as easy as archiving such posts because it wasn't a partnership. It's always as easy as that.
I actually didn't know that. That's actually really helped me. I want to, because we have literally 5 minutes, I'm conscious of time. I want to give 2 people a chance to ask a question in terms of monetizing your brand. So anyone with a question, raise your hand now. We'll take 2, and then we have to leave. 2 questions. No questions about money, guys. No one's trying to make money. Okay. Please, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Andrew Balongo Pere, content creator, podcaster, and my podcast is called Revenge of the Forsaken Gods. So check it out on YouTube. It's a video podcast, and also wherever you listen to your podcasts. I appreciate everything you've shared, and I like what you shared about identifying new talent. And I think that's missing. What are the ingredients someone needs to cultivate to be ready before they step up to you in agency, or even before they step up to you, Ryan, in order to be ready for the client? So what are the must-have qualities outside of what was shared of consistency and what have you? Because there's a certain understanding you guys have that we don't. Thank you.
Maybe I'll start. I think having a rate card and a flat rate, say what you're willing to say. Actually, just having a rate card, that helps a lot, because also in the space a lot moves very fast. So being able to present yourself very professionally is very important.
Okay, so you asked preparedness before you work with a brand. I think just knowing where you're going, so that you don't want to not have a strategy, I think. So think long term, so that when a brand comes, you're looking, does this brand align with where I'm going? I don't know if I answered your question.
Sort of. It's like saying, let me bring in the example of routine.
Mm-hmm.
The work at fitness, it's easy to say I want to be healthy and strong, and there's a definite path to show you. But I noticed with this skill, there's no definite path.
Okay.
What are the steps?
I actually have a response to that.
Yeah,
so I said it once before when I was hosted by Patricia and Terembe on the live. When it comes to content creation, a lot of people who are starting out or who've not gotten to the monetizing point, we look at it like, oh my God, they're having so much fun. This looks so easy. I'll get into it and I'll flourish and I'll be paid. But the thing with this is it needs to be taken as serious as a job, like an office job. So the first thing is, before you go to an office job, even if you don't know how to do that thing, you're going to do a lot of research on how you operate the particular job or how you do it. With content creation, it's the same. Before you go to work with a brand, do a little bit of research on, number one, how do I charge? The professionalism also comes in. A lot of people who join the content world don't even know how to read contracts. They sign the contract, and a brand, you've signed off your whole life to a brand. You've signed off your whole life to a brand. So you need to prepare for it like you're preparing for an interview, and then you've gotten the job, and now you're going to prove yourself in that particular job that I'm going to be the most excellent person in it. So in terms of if a brand comes to you with a product, what's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to do like some research about the brand? Have you gotten to understand what the goals are for the brand? Do they want to push product? Do they want to do this? So the professionalism comes in handling this like any other serious thing that you really care about in your life. So master those contracts, know how to calculate, even taxes. Like a lot of content, okay, you don't have to do it yourself. Nowadays, people pay people to do it. But it's good to even know that, you know, you're going to be, is the amount they're paying you exclusive of withholding tax or inclusive of it? A lot of creators don't even care, or a lot of people who are joining don't even know that exists. There's even like some form of tax that you need to account for. So that preparedness comes in what information do you have and how willing are you to meet the brand at the point of its need, and then, yeah, I think you'll be ready. And then you also gotta know that you have to do reports. You know, people don't think about reporting. Okay, Wowzy has made it easy for people nowadays, but people don't know about reporting, invoicing, like getting an LPO. I've ever worked with someone who was like, what's an LPO? And I was like, okay, can you even at least just consult a finance person to know what exactly you're getting into? So that level of preparedness is what you need.
Thank you so much, guys. I just want a closing remark from Laban. He wanted to mention something. And then we're going to wrap up because it is past. So, Laban.
Hi, everyone. Good to see familiar faces as well. Just by introduction, my name is Laban, and I've been really challenged. So please, a round of applause to Mwenda as well and the rest of the team. And Kofisi as well for hosting us. Mine is an appeal. So just by introduction, I served as a business journalist. Trace will know this from the days just when I started out about 10, 15 years ago. So I've been 15 years in the newsroom. And I know it's the envy of perhaps most of us to be news anchors and reporters and stuff. But right now, maybe not the space because the cheese has moved. And the cheese has moved to you guys. It's amazing to note that there's a lot of money being made and Coca-Cola dedicating over 40% towards content creation and not to a full-page ad on the papers. Now, sitting in one of the media houses as a chief of staff to a CEO, I know the numbers of how the two big houses, media houses that are listed and how they're doing. People are losing jobs. People are no longer want to be on air anymore. It used to be fun being on TV. Everyone was like, yeah, I want to be on TV, I want to be on radio, I want to be on your show. But it's no longer the case. Now, I'm challenging you guys. There's one time I asked an influencer, I said, guys, do you all have one voice? Do you have a space where you all speak as one? Because I know if I go to Safaricom, they're not going to put their page, they're not going to put an ad on my page, or they're not going to put an ad on my television platform, because they'll be like, how many people are watching your TV station? I'm not mentioning names because the numbers are out there for you to see. So my challenge here is for you guys as influencers to just work together. I know right now there's a lot of teamwork, camaraderie, a lot of love in the air, but when we come to you for the quotes, you're like, okay, you're all very individualistic and you do not want to share or even work as a team. Now, I've challenged Oscar because he's a lawyer, and I've mentioned Tracy because she has a finance background. You guys know the numbers. You can look at the financial statements. It's no longer palatable to be in the media, and right now, there are people who are losing jobs. But you guys are, the cheese has moved to you. So my request is, please work together, okay? The lawyer is there. He's going to put you guys, like, I don't know, because when I ask around, I'm told you're supposed to be under the Bloggers Association of Kenya. Now, I don't think that you fit under the Bloggers Association of Kenya. That doesn't make sense. So I think there needs to be a body that kind of, all of you work as one. Of course, Wowzy doing a phenomenal job, but I'm thinking in terms of pitching directly to the media houses and having that sort of a conversation. All the best, congratulations, and good to see that you're on the fine side of life.
Okay, I had so many more questions. There was so much to discuss, rate cards, etc. But all the socials for these individuals are going to be there if you want to chat to them afterwards as well. I'll just invite Victor onto the stage as we give a vote of thanks to everybody that's come today. I'll read out the list of names, so a round of applause as I say these. To Ritimi, the fitness coach. To Miss Mandy, the amazing cook. To Patricia Kahoro. To Anchi. To Ben and Wanjiro, keep it going. To Marugi. To Oscar. To Susan. To Tracy and Ryan. This was an idea. It was an idea, and you've made it possible. So thank you so much for your time, guys. I really hope that you've extracted some sort of value, and we're going to definitely do this again. I'll leave it to Victor to close us out.
I think Eli already did that on my behalf. Thank you so much for making time. I really hope you got value from these conversations that took place on stage. And I know it's very difficult for us to share our secrets. Most people think it's a very difficult thing for you to tell someone your trade secrets. But the only way we can grow is by moving together, like Laban said. And yeah, I think we are gonna close the session there. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank Kofisi for partnering with us. Clap for Kofisi. Please take a moment to get a flyer as on your way out at the reception. Try and see what information you could get. Eli and myself, members at Kofisi. It's a fantastic space to be in, and I feel like when we do this again, it'll be bigger, better, and we hope you will share immense feedback. We will have Google Forms for the questions that you may have not gotten answers to. We'll do a follow-up on all the emails. Thank you so much once again. Give a clap to yourselves. And once again, let's give a clap to all the speakers that came on stage. Thank you so much. And for Eli walking on this journey with me, we appreciate it. So I think we're going to close there. I'll let Sam just let us know where we are going after this. We have a small thing planned where you can just talk to a few people. So don't be in a hurry.
Yeah. Hopefully people still have questions in time. Thank you guys, amazing hosts and moderators. This was awesome. I think there's 20 other events coming out of this, but anyway, very excited. We're gonna go down to the atrium. We have DJ, cash bar, food, so you guys can continue to network. We do have also your feedback. On those picture frames, there's QR codes. We would love to hear your feedback and response for all our member events so we can do bigger and better things next time. Look forward to meeting you guys. So thanks everyone for coming and hope to see you downstairs for just a few, at least an hour or so if you can spare for networking.
All right, just let me ask us to give thanks to a team of people, I being one of them. We never get recognized at events. All the photographers, thank you, Vince, the videographer, Focus on the camera, Wanini, ZP, Photomagic. Thank you so much for making this possible. Please talk to them. They have a lot of technical skills to share. Thank you so much once again.
One more thing I forgot. Offices. If you're interested in office or flex space, we do have some of our staff that can show you around. I know you're just seeing this space, but we have a lot of cool spaces. So if you're interested in working, we do have flex and office and all this cool space for you guys to utilize. So look for us. Thanks a lot, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters. In partnership with Kofisi Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creatives Workshop. Presented by mantalk.ke and Visual Masters.